just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. Don't forget, tonight at 6 p.m, the Summer Bloke are restocked. That's right, Summer Bloke singlets, the Summer Bloke shirts, white, and a coal colour. I'm not sure what the name of that colour. And obviously the singlet. Plus, we've got a brand new singlet colour as well. That is 6 p.m. tonight, and it is 50% off, guys. I didn't want people that missed out initially to have to pay full price when everyone else paid 50% off for the Summer Bloke t-shirts and singlets. That's 6 p.m. tonight. Make sure to be there. Plus, 50% off everything. It is ending this week. It is ending this week. So make sure if you want to grab something this week, because 50% off everything is done this week and we are not bringing it back for a very long time, if ever. We have no plans at this stage, but we won't be bringing it back for at least another year. So be there 6 p.m. tonight. Also, don't forget to grab a case of Bloke beer. Bloke Lager on special currently at all IGA liquor stores in New South Wales. So it's the beer of Australian sport, guys. You know that. Guru, how you going, brother?
Good, mate. You're too generous for your own good.
Mate, I keep telling myself that, but it is what it is. I'm just a good bloke.
Your own worst enemy.
Yeah, really am. Sometimes it's like when you go into an interview, a job interview, and you're like, sometimes, what's your negatives? And you say, sometimes I work too hard. Sometimes I'm too honest. Instead of saying, I'm actually lazy and I'm just here for the check.
Speaking of good blokes as well, mate, I've got a merch drop on Wednesday, 6 p.m. as well. So rugbyleagueguru.com.au, grab yourself a hat. Timmy's got one there.
Okay.
Little sack filler for Christmas.
There you go. Rugby League Guru hats. You can't get there. Hey, they are hard to find. So if you want to get them, be there and be ready. And also limited amount?
Limited amount, yeah.
And the other ones, didn't they go like in...
about 2 minutes or so.
2 minutes. Yeah. 2 minutes, eh?
Bit like the Guru himself.
I like that, Guru. I like that. You come into your own the last couple of weeks.
I love the off-season.
Yeah, you come into your own. Timmy, mate, you going to back that up or what?
I'm good, mate, but I'm just a bit surprised. Guru merch normally empties sacks, not fills them up.
Fucking hell, the boys are on fire tonight. Hammy, give me something.
Thanks for having me back. No hat for me. What's going on? A little lump of coal for Hammy this Christmas.
There you go. Well, you took his seat and now you're taking his hat.
It's getting bad.
I better keep the sponsors happy, but I'll put that on after the show. Thank you very much.
Hammy, how was your weekend, mate?
Really good. Little week down in Melbourne there, which was great. But missed you guys. Good to be back. Thanks for your help, NRL Grid last week. Kane Manahira, and shout out to him if he's listening.
He'd be listening.
What a lifeline that was. Phone a beak down at the pub there,
mate. Look, I'm actually a bit hurt because there's been a bit of infidelity, boys. A bit of infidelity because the man sitting next to me, he wasn't here last week. We can all remember that, correct?
Yep. Great chat.
And during the week, he was seen on another podcast. And he actually had the audacity to post it to his own social media. And that hurts my feelings. Can you explain the whole situation? Now, you couldn't be on Bloke podcast, but you were cheating on another podcast.
Well, I actually wasn't. And I really hope that podcast doesn't get published anywhere because it could be a bit hairy for a few people who are on it. I was at a launch party for Annotate Agency who help us out at Sportsbet with some stuff down in Melbourne. They had a new space. Yep. And as part of the party, they had a podcast rolling the whole time. And anyone was encouraged to just go down, sit down, have a chat to someone.
Okay.
What could go wrong there?
Yeah, for sure.
All it was, and you know what, I'm happy to relive what I spoke about on that podcast. with my manager, Scotty Walker, we basically just rattled off your most niche Sheffield Shield player from each state. And we were on for 45 minutes, and 4 separate groups asked us if we were finished and if we could get off. So if you want me to regurgitate that here, I'm more than happy to.
All right, you let us know. Hey, the listeners, let us know. Do you believe his story covering up his infidelity, or have we been cheated on? That's let the punters decide.
Yep.
I tell you what, if I ever walked in and the wife, said I'd been cheating.
Yep.
And I come up with a Sheffield Shield story.
Yep.
I reckon she'd believe
Pretty good alibi.
It's a pretty bloody good alibi. I was just watching Sheffield Shield cricket, and she'd be like, "No one watches that shit." Oh, speaking of cricket, it's time to face of music. Brought to you by Sportsbet. The Big Bash is around the corner. Time to get excited. Been waiting on this all year, boys. Cannot wait. Hammy, speak to me.
Let's do it. Just on Face the Music, great that you guys kind of Face the Music last week, and Matty drove the bus really well. But I had put it in my little notes here that my recommendation was that Beak had to do a nudie run as he got 0 points. And Couldn't help but notice no nudie running shoes. Just because I'm away doesn't mean you get to completely throw the segment away. So what's doing there?
Well, I think we actually came to the conclusion that you were cooking the books. Yeah. And you gave yourself half a point when you shouldn't have given yourself half a point. And we felt that was against the spirit of Face the Music. So we said that you actually lost. So maybe you need to do the next
Piers Camp over here with the spirit of Face the Music. Man, I thought I deserved an extra point.
You were the England of Face the Music going, oh, he won morally, spiritually, I'll give myself half a point.
Well, I had the foresight to, who could have said a week earlier that Tanvir Sanger was going to play in that game? And he played, and how? What a spell of bowling that was. Anyway, look, I'm not going to let that derail this week's segment, but just moving forward, if I'm away, in the unlikely event I'm away, let's just not completely throw it away. All right, so we're going to have a look at the Big Bash. Obviously kicks off on Thursday. I know you're very excited, Kempy.
Cannot wait.
In more ways than one, this is your Christmas, really, the Big Bash season. So what I want to get from you guys this week is your tournament winner, which team you think is going to win. I want to get your top run scorer for the tournament as well, and your top wicket taker. So that's what I'm looking for there. Then we're also going to have a look at the first game of the tournament, which is the Heat versus the Stars. I want your winner, your top run scorer, your top wicket taker as well. So, Mr. Cricket, you have the new ball here. Okay. Which team do you think will be winning the Big Bash this year?
Look, it's been the AFLW Brizzy girls got up.
Yep.
So I think there's something in the water there. I think that they've redeemed the state.
Yep.
Because although most of our teams made grand finals, which shows we are the better state in sport, we didn't win it.
Yep.
And we're here to win things.
Yep.
So I think Brisbane win.
Brisbane Heat at $8. You're going with the Brisbane Heat to win this year.
Fairy tale stuff.
Like it. What about your top tournament run scorer?
Look, this is going to surprise a lot of people. It's a left field answer. Maxwell. $15. Not bad. A little bit of value there. Yeah, a bit of value there.
Now,
heaps of value, actually, if you ask me.
What about your bowl? You've always said bowling's the most important part of T20 cricket.
It really is.
Yep.
It really is. You got to take wickets.
You do.
You got to take wickets. You can hit them all day, but if you don't take wickets, what are you going to do?
You've always said that.
I've always
Get that on a shirt.
Yeah, take wickets.
And who do you think there?
Look, this is going to surprise a lot of people with Zampa.
$19. Now, he's really divided the town. I could feel it in the air down there in Melbourne last week. He's divided the town. He's gone from the Stars to the Renegades. $19 at his new team.
It's been all over my news feed, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Guru, what about yourself?
Mate, I was having a look at the Big Bash winner, and I actually saw the boys' notes before they've all gone for Perth. I'm a bit of a value guy. I'm going to go for the Melbourne Renegades.
Value guy.
I'm expecting the boys to follow suit and take my bets as they always do.
$7.
Renegades for me, $7. Thank you for coming.
What do you like about them, Guru?
Good cricket side. Very good.
Jesus, turning into cowards in the off-season.
My run scorer?
Yep.
I'm going to go for Matty Short.
Yep. $12.
Yep.
You've taken mine as well, so that's good.
Good. And wicket, I'm going to go for Paddy Dooley. That was my favourite name on the list.
Paddy Dooley.
Don't like it. Bad. That's
the old frog in a blender. Paddy Dooley, $15 there. Very interesting bowling action for the Hurricanes. What about yourself, Timmy?
Yeah, look, Guru's convinced me. I'm going to go the Renegades.
Fucking shock me. Who would have thunk it?
I think they won it once before, but they're stacked. Got Joey Clark over, Zampa over, Quinton de Kock gone for the first two games, but he comes in and plays the majority of the tournament. The Renegades are stacked. I reckon they'll win it. I reckon...
Disagree, mate.
Oh no, Beat's gone against me. Shit. Top run scorer of the tournament, Joe Clark, the Englishman. Knows conditions well. I only will play just about every game, so...
$26 for Clarkie.
That's great value. So is actually Maxi at 15, to be fair. I think it goes right there. But yeah, Joe
Clark,
value
there. Great value.
Top wicket taker, Tanvir Sanger, future Australian test spinner, hopefully.
Absolutely agree.
I've gone with Tanvir.
Copying me now.
You on Tanvir?
Well, I had him the other week. $21.
Great odds. Great odds.
Matty?
Yeah, Guru's just stolen us, what we said in the green room. Me and Timmy were always going Renegades, so I'll stick with Renegades. I think they're going to win. I'll go Philippe.
Yep.
For run scorer for Sixers.
$15.
I think for wicket taker, I don't know if he'll get the most... I'm only picking this guy because I love him so much.
Yep.
Riley Meredith from Hobart.
Yeah, $15.
Oh, that's
a couple of 15s there, Matty.
I like Riley Meredith. He's an absolute beast. So yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Happy with that. All right, I'm going to go with the Scorchers looking at a three-peat here. Looking at the Penrith Panthers at the Big Bash here.
Yeah.
$3.75.
No, I reckon
you might
they've
call me a
gone
coward, but I just think they've got the ingredients there to do it again.
No, I don't reckon they've got it in them to go.
You don't reckon?
No. They're just not the same team as last year.
Proof will be in the pudding, mate.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, my top run scores, I had Matt Short, I had Maxi. They've both been taken.
Yep.
I'm going to give you one with a bit of value here.
Okay.
$67. Jake Fraser McGurk. Whacking him at the moment. We
Wow.
spoke about. I know you were very impressed with his knock at Karen Rolton Oval the other week.
Absolutely.
We spoke about that at length on the show. $67 for him. Top wicket taker for me. A bit of a toss up here, but I'm going to go another roughie. Spencer Johnson for the Brisbane Heat. One of your boys, Kempy. $23.
He's in good form.
Big left armour.
Yep.
I like the look of Spencer Johnson.
Bit of an injury concern there, mate. Might not play early stages. But
He's made of the tough stuff.
That's why I'd be probably having a little two-bowler play there at Michael Neser as well. $19, $17.
Also missing the first 2 games, though.
Yeah, that's all right. I come over with wet sail. First game, obviously, your boys in action, Kempy. The Heat up against the Stars on Thursday evening. So keen to get a bit of an understanding of your who wins that game, your top wicket taker, your top run scorer. Heat in this one, $1.73 favourites. The Stars, $2.12.
Heat, 13 plus.
Yep.
Maxwell.
Maxwell to top, yeah, okay, 335 for the Stars.
You're a fucking idiot.
And you've got Spencer John, Mitchell Swepson.
He was talking up Xavier Bartlett before the show, Kempy.
You were quite hot on Xavier Bartlett.
Yeah,
in the green
look,
room.
I was, sometimes you get caught up in the emotion of cricket and you get caught up in players. But look, you know what? I'll let you guys go your wicket takers.
Yep.
And then I'll come back to you.
Okay. Can't
The way
really.
you did Maxwell was like the Atlanta Falcons. Fucking mad. What do you need from me?
I just need your winner, top run, top wicket.
I'll take the Stars in an upset.
Yep.
I will take Stoinis.
I was going to go him.
460.
I was going to go Stoinis.
But you went Maxi.
Didn't you say Maxwell?
No.
No, you didn't. No, I was going to go Stoinis.
Yeah.
I was going to go Stoinis, but...
Do you want Stoinis? I'll take Maxwell.
No, I'll take Maxwell.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought you was better.
You sure?
Yeah.
And a wicket taker?
Yeah.
I'll take... Has Bartlett been taken?
He hasn't. Still on the table at $4.
Thank you. Take
Yep.
him.
You're welcome.
Stars to win.
Yep.
Sammy Harper, top run scorer.
I had Sammy Harper in good form at the moment.
And
Queensland rhetoric.
bowling. I didn't mind your boy Spencer Johnson, but in a bit of doubt. So mate, I'm going to go with the veteran Nathan Coulter-Nile.
Okay. He's under a permanent injury cloud, isn't he?
He's always injured, yeah.
You guys all went Melbourne.
Yeah, what do you think they're going to win?
Except Kempy.
They won't win.
Because I know cricket.
They won't get close. Brisbane to win.
Yep.
Spencer Johnson wickets.
Yep.
Is Munro playing?
Yeah, he's playing.
Yeah.
$4.
Love him. Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to go Spencer Johnson for wickets, by the way. If you want
Yeah.
to put that in.
You can have him.
Yeah,
I'll pop it in.
I gotta go.
You've copied my homework, but that's okay. I'll go the Stars. I think they're due for a win. Sammy Harper.
Having not played in 10 months, and
Yeah,
yeah,
but-
probably hard to.
They finished last year. I just think the only way is up for them. Then I'm going to go with Sammy Harper as well, and I'm going to go Spencer Johnson. There's a bit of a crossover, but that's where I'm looking for this one.
Well, that's people know cricket, so
Yeah.
sometimes they're going to say the same thing when they know cricket.
Bit of osmosis.
It's like picking Cleary for
Yep.
Clive Churchill's. If you know,
Sometimes when it's staring you in the face, you've just got to put it
take
in.
It's going to be a quick segment next week if Spencer Johnson doesn't play.
Yeah, it will. It really will. So there we go. That's the first game. Can't wait. Thursday night.
Boom. The
Lock it
Big
in.
Bash. It is here. Feel the summer thrill.
Yeah.
Feel it. Do you feel the
I
summer
can
thrill?
feel it.
I'm feeling it. What about you, Guru?
Feeling it.
Oh yeah, Timmy.
Yeah, feeling it.
So the Big Bash, obviously, the Big Bash kicking off this Thursday. Immerse yourself in the ultimate summer experience with the KFC Big Bash. For those in Queensland, opening night has Brisbane Heat hosting Melbourne Stars at the Gabba. For those in New South Wales, the Sixers will host the Melbourne Renegades at the SCG on Friday night with DJ Tiger Lily performing at the the ground. How good.
Gurus, mate.
Mate, last time we saw DJ Tiger, she bumped us at Bankwest Stadium. We were meant to be halftime entertainment. We got moved to pre-game.
Oh, wow.
Hurts.
I don't know if they need DJ Tiger Lily. I would have thought the draw card of Daniel Hughes and Hayden Kerr would have been enough to get you down there. But if you need Tiger Lily, sure, get yourself down there.
Tiger Lily's going to make the whole thing better.
South Sydney girl.
Is she?
Yep.
She goes, so Rabbitoh, so she's an arch enemy of yours.
Yes, she is.
That's why she bumped you.
That's it.
I hear there's a bit of talk that the BBL want to get you at the innings change over under the high ball, mate, Kempy. See how you go.
Under the high wall.
Yeah.
He used to call me son called baby saves the house.
Take Matty with you.
Thank-
You have a great night.
No. No. And we haven't spoken about it since, but absolutely disgraceful performance from Matty.
Do we line that up for the Big Bash season? I was going to say get revenge on Tom and Eddie, go 2 up on Tom and Eddie and get the cricket highball challenge. Because they claim to be cricketers, don't they?
Yeah, get Matty a net out there. It'll be good.
Maddie's not coming. Maddie's not
Didn't
coming.
catch a cold all winter, Matty.
Elbows in, Matty.
Jeez Louise. More blockbusters include Sydney Smash on December 30th with the Thunder hosting the Sixers. Both of those teams actually play on New Year's Day too, with Hobart playing the Thunder and Brisbane Heat hosting the Sixers. There are so many great games to look forward to this summer in the Big Bash. It's explosive cricket action with thrilling entertainment. So make sure, I'll be watching the Big Bash this year. Actually, we'll be watching the Big Bash. I've been watching more cricket. I actually have been watching more cricket.
I've noticed, mate. It's been very sharp, the analysis.
Thank you.
Very good.
I mean, first multi, absolutely nailed it.
Yep.
Whatever, is what it is. And also, that's Face the Music. That's Face the Music, done and dusted.
Back, baby.
How good. How good.
If there's a nudie run next week, I want to see it followed through with. I'll be here to enforce it. So,
Wow, like very, very dictator-ish in the off-season.
can you imagine the engagements on a nudie run clip going up? Imagine the engagement. You better put the feet up for the rest of the year. You can't be.
Yeah, look. I don't
Depends
think it
who
would
it was,
be
I
a
think.
good engagement. Let's just put it that way.
Just got to look at the raw data sometimes, can you? Don't get too caught up in it.
All right, let's get into it. Cricket chat. Some huge, I guess, I wouldn't say controversy, but Mitchell Johnson, he has come out absolutely swinging on Warner and George Bailey. George Bailey is obviously a selector. Anyway, Mitchell Johnson came out and said, as we prepare for Warner's farewell series, can somebody please tell me why? Why a struggling test opener gets to nominate his own retirement date and why a player at the centre of one of the biggest scandals in Australian cricket history warrants a hero's send-off. Yes, he has a decent overall record and some say is one of our greatest opening bats. Some say. I like that little, yes, some say it, like as if, not me though. But his past 3 years in Test cricket have been ordinary, with a batting average closer to what a tail ender would be happy with.
Whack.
Wow. Tonked his cherry, all right. Warner certainly isn't Australia's Test captain and never deserved to be for that matter. In fact, he ends his career under a lifetime leadership ban. And then he said on George Bailey, the handling of Warner in recent years, who played with Bailey in all 3 forms, raises the questions of whether Bailey was simply too quickly out of playing and into the job and too close to some of the players. I also wonder what the role of head selector is these days. It seems to have moved to be a part of the inner sanctum rather than standing aside from it. There's now throwdowns for the players, golfing together and celebrating wins to all hours. There's a more, obviously you can go and check out the full story, but it's basically he's just going hard at David Warner, basically saying that he shouldn't be selected, and also bringing up that he's never really owned the ball tampering scandal. But anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on those comments?
Won't be exchanging Christmas cards, that's for sure. Didn't miss.
Did not miss. Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack, isn't there? No, I think firstly that just the way he's come out and done it is so outlandish. Yeah, just former teammates and everything that's going on, and you know the pot shots at George Bailey, renowned as one of the best blokes in Australian cricket. We're also like the World Test champions, the ODI World champions. We retained the Ashes over in England, so you know you're having a pot shot at the selectors. Well, they obviously haven't done much wrong the last 12 to 18 months. You know the shots at David Warner. Look, I don't completely disagree with, you know, the chat about him being sort of the incumbent Test opener and why is his spot not under question and choosing his own retirement date. I think like 2019, he triple-tonned against Packies in 2019-20 and he's averaged about 28 opening the bat since then for Australia. So all fair comments, but the way he's come across and the way he's done it, just, he's gone hard, hasn't he?
Well, what I'm not getting, and I've got not a good insight into how accurate it is of like, you know, who would replace him, as in who would replace Warner. Is that got to be brought into the conversation of it's not necessarily how good Warner is, but is there someone really screaming out that should have that spot, as considering how, you know, Warner's career? But I just think that bringing up something that happened, 6 years ago? 5, 6 years ago?
2018.
Absolutely bizarre. Like that is where it goes from, in my opinion, an opinion to a hit piece. Because what you're doing is you're taking something that has nothing to do with his selection to try and poison the water to make your point come across stronger, which is a really gross tactic in my opinion. If you've got a strong opinion, have that opinion. Don't start bringing in irrelevant stuff to make your opinion stronger. That's when you know it's not actually just about the fact that he feels that Warner shouldn't be selected. There's clearly bad blood there.
Yeah,
there's clearly bad blood there.
And you're spot on, Kemp. Like, why bring that up? But at the same time, you look back at the Sandpaper Gate. It was, 5-6 years ago now. And we spoke at it sort of length before the show, but there have been countless times where players and nations have been involved in ball tampering scandals. The Sandpaper Gate was quite a bad one, but it's been happening for years. Lollipops, bloody, was it Shahid Afridi chomping the ball to bits. And the ICC came down on not just Warner and Smith and all these, like, pretty mildly, nothing too bad. And Australia came out and banned Smith, Bancroft and Warner for a year. They missed out a year of their test career as a result of it. They have been punished. They've done their time. They screwed up. They admit that. Like, let it go.
I just think it's bizarre to just throw that in there. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, remember the really stupid thing that happened 5-6 years ago? This is why David Warner shouldn't get selected, or this is why he's not a leader. It's like, mate, he wouldn't be in the team as long as he was as a senior player if he wasn't a good player and a leader. Maybe he's been out of form for a while, but is anyone screaming to take that spot?
Probably the person that is probably Cameron Bancroft, who
Ironically.
was his little deputy in the Sandpaper scenario.
So doesn't that just prove Mitchell Johnson's kind of comments almost weightless? Because outside of Bancroft, if there's no one else, then he should be selected if no one else is screaming for it.
There's a handful of others that are sniffing around, but he's probably the most logical one, Bancroft.
They've got the PM's 11 game down at Marnacre Oval against the Packies is starting in a couple of days' time, and there's Bancroft, Harris, Renshaw, all these blokes in contention. But what you're saying is right, Kempy. It's none of those players are knocking the door down. They get some shield runs, sure, but they've all also had chances in the Australian Test setup and have gone okay at best.
But for example, Bancroft, he was a part of it. So by Mitchell Johnson's logic, he shouldn't get selected because he's using that Sandpaper Gate against Warner. So he should say, well, Bancroft should never wear the Australian jersey either.
Well, I think he does talk a little bit about, like, he was the leader. He kind of made them do it in his little attack that he did. So
so a grown man. He's going to obfuscate for him and say, oh yeah, he was just following orders, but Warner is the bad guy. It's like, come on, they're equally responsible. Easily gone, mate.
It's an interesting way that he brought the message across, Johnson. But it's an interesting point he raises around the victory lap sort of thing, because if this was an Ashes series, or we were playing India, or a really big high stakes series, maybe you go, let's not rock the boat. We'll go to the guys that we know can do the job. But because it's two weaker sides coming out this summer, great opportunity to blood some new guys, get them to feel comfortable, get them in there. I mean, it's an interesting one. I had a little rugby league analogy. Like, if James Tedesco came out now and said, next year will be my last Origin series, how would the rugby league media react to that? Like, obviously he hasn't had a big scandal or anything, but they'd probably go, you what? You don't get to say when you finish up. Like, you're either in form and you get picked or you don't. So this is maybe a little bit similar in that regard for Warner, choosing when he goes, basically. He'll leave halfway through the summer. There'll still be 2 tests against the West Indies, which will be...
Could you argue that... I mean, I know he didn't come out and say it, but could you argue that Teddy got selected in for Australia for that kind of last hurrah? Of loyalty?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do think it is a bit strange coming out and going, I'm going to retire. That's going to be my last series, because it puts obviously extra pressure. But the thing that, again, he said it publicly, obviously, but he would have said it internally anyway. So the selectors still would have had that pressure regardless? Is that correct?
Yeah, potentially. I just kind of think, Johnson's come out and had a go at him here. There haven't been too many others who have probably called him out for doing this. In the rugby league, can you imagine how many ex-players would have been up and about teeing off saying, do you know what I mean? I think from that perspective, he's got a point. He's put it across a little bit too bombastically, but that was interesting for me. The other one was on George Bailey, who I agree, one of the greatest blokes in Australian cricket of all time, and a dead ringer for one of my good mates. Shout out to Mac Lordenbach if he's listening. I'll give Matty a photo to add in. Let us know in the comments. But it's an interesting one. Chairman of selectors in any sport, should they be playing golf with the team? Should they be having beers out with the... Maybe they should, because to your point, Timmy, they haven't done too much wrong, the selectors, over the last year.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Got the mix right. Everything's
Yeah.
going pretty well. But it does feel a little bit strange. Probably a bit of a
Are we
change from the...
nitpicking though right now? Like we're, and I'm outside looking in. You guys
Yeah.
obviously know way more about it, but it's like we've been going extremely well.
Yep.
Just won the World Cup, retained the Ashes. Before that, obviously, I know Lang was still involved, but beating them when they come over here,
Yep.
like everything's going really well.
Yep.
So why these seismic changes, or I guess questions?
Yep.
When we're at the top of our nearly the top of our game.
Yeah.
Well, essentially, definitely at the top of our game. We just won the World Cup.
Yeah. Look, I don't think there needs to be too many seismic changes. Maybe that the way that George Bailey goes about it works. But what it feels like to me is we've got a bit of probably not the most engaging summer test cricket we've ever had. And maybe they've gone, Mitch, get out there and get us some headlines, something, before it all kicks off. Maybe that's what it sort of feels like to me. I don't know about you guys.
If so, well done to Mitch.
Well, bowled.
It's just like, it's tough because like former teammate to put this pressure on Warner now, like he is going, and now it is the David, like if Mitchell Johnson didn't want him to get attention for this being his last victory lap, it's going to be the last, if he does get selected and everything, it's going to be the biggest last victory lap ever because he's going to be in the headlines constantly.
It's interesting, and you rose a good point there, Hammy. With David Warner, it's the perfect summer because it is a softer summer of cricket to Blood, whoever is next to come in. And the three blokes mentioned before are all vying for that opening spot when Dave Warner does retire. But at the same time, because it is a softer summer where, in theory, you don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we should be winning pretty comfortably. Flat decks in Australia. Warner should go out with a bit of style and hopefully a few runs. A good way to farewell a bloke who's been such a stalwart of this team for over a decade. I'm a little torn on the best way to go about it, but as you said, there's also the 2 West Indies tests. Warner can play Sydney, you can retire after that. You get whoever stars throughout the summer up to that point. They can come in and open, get a few tests. If it was an India series or a South Africa or an Ashes, that's where it'd be a bit more controversial, but look, he's done a lot for the game, a couple more tests, whatever.
What would it say about team culture if he was dropped now?
Wouldn't be good, I don't reckon. I think now that he's in for this test, unless there's an injury, he'll play through Del Sydney. He'll get his little...
And it was interesting to note, the squad they've named, it's only for this test. They haven't sort of named a squad for the summer or anything, so things can chop and change, but...
If this whole retirement thing wasn't going about, would there be this much chatter about him being dropped, or would he have been selected, do you think?
If he wasn't retiring already?
Yeah.
There'd probably be a bit of chatter around it, I reckon.
I think there'd be a heap more chat around it.
Yeah.
Because that's the point. They're like, well, he's not in form.
It's a soft series.
And they're going, does he deserve to be there? Now it's like, well, we do it on merit, the fact that he's been here for so long, we can give him his send-off. But there'd be a lot of pressure if he wasn't retiring.
Yeah, okay. And so who would replace him then? Bancroft?
I think it'd be Bancroft.
Yeah.
And Ricky Ponting gave him a big push the other day as well. When he talks, they usually listen, punter. So he seems like the most obvious one.
Honestly, I think Bancroft's the front runner, but the PM's 11 game, I think it starts Wednesday, it's a serious shootout. Like, if any of those three players can come out and get runs, Cam Green's also playing in that, interestingly, and that will be done well before the first test is played. So obviously that's selected the squad, but there's a lot riding on that game.
Yeah, look, it's just the way that he's kind of gone about it. I just think that if he had been a bit more, because sounds like a really fair opinion to have, but he had a bit more, less bringing in like this past stuff to kind of filler your opinion and almost bring as I said, more of a hit piece rather than opinion piece. Could have gone about a better way, but outside looking in, as a legend of the game, it's a soft draw. We're already on top of the world. I say you give him his victory lap.
Yeah.
Because we're already... I know we have an ageing... like some of the boys are a bit older that won't be going to the next World Cup, correct?
Yep.
So I understand the perspective of we've got to bring in young guys to blood them. But at the same time, like, we have created an environment, the Australian cricket team, where maybe we can afford to give him the victory lap and he kind of deserves it for everything he's done for the team.
Yeah. And the other thing, like, he's so polarising, David Warner, and obviously there's got to be some bad blood there with Mitchie Johnson, but what if it was a Mitch Stark or a Josh Hazelwood, someone in the past, Ricky Ponting or someone else who's been around the test team for a long time? If it was them doing it, it wasn't this polarising figure of David Warner who Mitch Johnson looks like he doesn't like him. Would there be controversy around it? Absolutely not. It's because some people out there don't like David Warner and they're like, no, he doesn't deserve his victory lap, but I don't know.
He's chosen a good one. I'm just looking here. His average against Pakistan, better than any other team, 83.5. So 5 tons, 450. He's a high score of 335 not out. So,
Which nearly would have been his last test knock against... Oh, he might have played him overseas since then, but...
Yep.
Yeah, last test knock in Australia against Pakis would have been that triple ton, I reckon.
Yep. So he'll probably enjoy his victory lap, I reckon. It's my hunch.
I tell you what, it's got the people talking.
Yep.
It's got the people talking. Okay, so you're back in... If he is... Okay, should he be selected victory lap?
I'd give him the series, yeah.
Yes,
Drew?
for sure.
Yeah, you can have it.
You can have it?
Yep.
Maddie, you do?
Yep.
And that's coming from an Indian cricket fan, don't forget as well. Over there.
Hates no, they love him over there, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments section. Do you think the comments? Let's take outside the ad hominems of basically calling his character into question from 5-6 years ago, and just who would you select? Would you select Warner, give him the victory lap, or do you think that Australia need to be ruthless and go, nah, let's just build towards the future? Anything else, boys?
Well, I was going to say, just on the team, we've got the squad out. So, first test squad, Cummins, Boland, Carey, Green, Hazelwood, Head, Kawaja, Labuschagne, Lyon, Mitch Marsh, Lance Morris from WA, Steve Smith, Mitch Stark, David Warner. Probably the one question there, Timmy, is and boys, is the all-rounder spot. Which way do you see them going there? I've got an opinion, but I'm keen to hear what you reckon they're going to do there.
I think they'll go with Mitchy Marsh.
Yep.
I think he offers more with the ball. I think he offers more with the bat. He'd been stunning in the Ashes. Cam Green, what threw a bit of a spanner in the works was Cam Green hitting 96 in the Shield during the week, and he's sort of gone, all right, we know he can roll the arm over. I think Mitchy Marsh is a better wicket taker. I think he offers well more with the ball, if I'm being honest.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
20 kilometres slower?
Yeah, I think he's... statistically, I don't know if he takes more wickets, but Cam Green, very up and down. There aren't a lot of variations. He's quicker, obviously, but I prefer Mitch Marsh to bowl. You probably get a few more overs out of Cam Green. He's got recent runs on the board, Mitchy Marsh. I'd be going with Marsh. Again, the PM's 11 game's a big one for Cam Green just to state his case.
Where is Cam Green's career headed? Because wasn't it only a couple of years ago he was the golden child, the next big thing?
Yep.
Kind of fell off a little bit form-wise.
Yeah, he had a bit of a tough year. He did make a ton in India, though, in a test match. Yeah. I think they're going to go with Cam Green, is my hunch. And just for what we were talking about before, this is a bit of a soft summer. Great opportunity to every game you're getting into Cam Green is an investment in the future. And I think if this was an Ashes, I'd go with Mitch Marsh based on the year he's had. Cam Green, just let him get into form, take some poles, get some runs, particularly against the West Indies in the back half of it.
Tonk some cherries.
Tonk some cherries, exactly.
How old's Cam Green?
20, or Matty might be able to get 22, I reckon.
Oh, okay.
Will he fulfill 24?
24.
Do you think he'll fulfill the potential or the hype that was around him a couple of years ago? Do you think he's still on that trajectory?
I think he will eventually.
Okay.
Yep. So I'd be getting those games into him now. But yeah, as I say, if it was Ashes right now or a series that really mattered right now, I'd probably go Mitch Marsh.
I get it's a great opportunity to get Test cricket into him this summer.
Yep.
5 really good tests for what will be an investment for the future.
Yep.
But I'm also here to win Test cricket and win games right now. So I'm picking Mitch Marsh.
So we talk about a softer draw or whatever. What do you reckon Paddy Cummins, what's a win for him out of this series as a leader?
5-0. They won't want to lose a game.
But what's a win as in, internally from a team's perspective, what do you reckon the leadership decisions by him need to be? Is it if you're talking about for example, when the Rabbitohs come back, I know they fell off a cliff, but when they come back and they played the Tigers and they completed a really high percent and they won 20-0, it was such a good game because it was we know the Rabbitohs can score a lot of points, but they had great defence, kept them to nil. No offence, sorry about that.
Too soon, mate.
What do you reckon Paddy Cummins, because we're expected to win, what does he need to work on as a leader and what does the squad need to work on? And that's a win for him.
I think some of these guys that come in, when they get a crack, doing well. I think just so that there's a bit of clarity around when the guys retire, these are the next guys to come in. So there'll be a bit of chopping and change. I reckon we'll see some of these guys in Lance Morris probably get a game at some point, I reckon, through the summer. And whoever this next Warner fill-in, or replacement is, those guys kind of doing the business, I think, is a win for...
What's Lance Morris's story?
Western Australian.
Yep.
Really, they reckon he's the quickest bowler in the Sheffield Shield. Probably, I had him a little lucky to get into the squad. 11 wickets so far for the Sheffield Shield. Probably hasn't been as dominant as some of, look at guys like Chris Tremaine, 34 wickets for New South Wales so far. But he's been the next one up for a little while. They like the pace he gets the ball down at. He went on a couple of tours with the boys to India. Didn't play, but he's the kind of the next guy there. They reckon like for like, he's the quickest with Mitchell Stark. So if something happened to Stark, they'll probably bring in Lance Morris.
Sort of next gen, and he's like rapid, like can hit 150 clicks.
Yep.
I'm such a big Jai Richardson fan.
Yep.
I think he's a star. Came back from injury during the week in Shield and just bowled unbelievably.
Yep.
But, mate, the same story with these Aussie quicks. Just injuries. Like Jai Richo, poor bugger, is injured every second week. But
big esports guy. Maybe he's getting a bit of chair rash from his esports game chair. Bad for the bit of carpal tunnel.
Well, what game does he play?
I think like COD and stuff like that.
Warzone?
Really?
Call of Duty Warzone?
Yeah. Don't quote me on that, but big esports guy.
Hammy, quoted, big esports guy.
Now don't quote me.
Oh.
Don't quote me.
Definitely.
Do your own research, but he's a big esports guy.
Okay.
I know that much. The other guy I reckon's under a bit of pressure is Alex Carey. Big summer for Alex Carey.
Yeah.
If it doesn't come together, Josh Inglis, get him in there.
And then the other one is, Kemp, you mentioned sort of like what direction for Cummins in the Australian Test squad this summer. It's the question we've sort of spoken about now. Is it, do they look ahead to what will be the Ashes next summer?
No, summer after.
Summer after.
Yep.
But like looking ahead to the future, do they look to blood people and give a run to someone like Lance Morris, who he might be in the squad for the first test? That might fall to someone different like Richardson or Michael Neser for the next test. But then again, someone like Michael Neser, who not only is a terrific bowler, but he's getting a ton of runs as well. Neser being at the back end of his career, also in that PLM's 11 game, who do they give the crack to? So basically Cummins, do we focus on winning this series 5-0 as best we can? And that might be getting ahead of ourselves. Who knows how they'll show up, the Packies and the West Indians, but we should be winning it well. Or do we begin to blood them for next summer?
It's a really unique position, not unique, but interesting spot that Paddy Cummins finds me in, because sometimes when you're struggling as a team, it's easy to see the direction you need to head in. But when you're doing as well as he is and you've just come off one of the biggest wins of the last 20 years or whatever, it's a hard decision. Do you stay ruthless and just go for wins? Or it's a hard leadership decision. So sometimes it can be harder than the leadership. Like you look at like England, for example, it seems pretty obvious the direction they need to head. I'd assume internally, if they're being honest with themselves. Whereas Paddy, we're all kind of sitting and going like, what is the right direction? Like, what's the right decision to make?
And the other one on that, you talk about keeping the team harmony, what's best for the culture, this and that. And I've never heard a bad word spoken about Cam Green, but Mitch Marsh is also known as being, I mentioned George Bailey before, but Mitch Marsh is like the changing
like
guy.
a locker room guy.
Yeah,
okay.
Guy that everybody loves. Sounds like just the best fella ever. So coming in form, the boys love him. You're not saying they don't. Cam Green, and this is Australian Test side. It's not the Coomer Stones reserve game where you pick who's the best bloke. However, these things do
they matter.
come into contention.
Yeah, absolutely, they matter.
Timmy still didn't get picked in the Coomer side.
Phil got demoted as an overage play back to 18.
All right. Any more cricket talk, boys?
Just in 2 words, England lol. They've just lost the first one day to the West Indies. We don't need to unpack it too much, but it's pretty funny. So,
Mate, seriously, what a disaster. They have gone from absolute penthouse to shithouse in like 2 or 3 years.
it's just good stuff.
Was there any signs of this, like from someone?
Like this is a fully I don't know anything about cricket. And even I'm going, that's a full-on implosion.
Yep.
Were there any signs? Maybe Bazball being a crock of shit.
Yeah, that might have been the one sort of telltale
Because like
thing.
this would be like, because they were on top of the world 2 or 3 years ago, correct?
Yeah.
So this would be like the top, like winning a comp and then coming wooden spoon pretty much.
Essentially, yeah. Yep.
And against like teams with like you, and also you invented the game.
Yep.
You know, like all the resources, everything.
You've written the rules.
Written the
You've
rules.
bent the rules so
And
you
you
can
know-
win a comp in the first place.
And also you have the spirit of game under your control.
Absolutely. Exactly. Well, yeah. Just ask any of them. So it has been really funny and good to see it continuing even after the World Cup. So.
Okay. All right, now, big news. Michael Maguire, officially named New South Wales coach. We knew that coming. Now, officially, 2-year deal, but it's a 5-month contract with a performance clause triggered at 2026. So I'd assume that if he wins one of the 2 series or... do you have the performance, what the clause is? Performance clause. John Cartwright, Brett White, Matt King will be assistant coaches. Frank Panisi will be team manager. Boys, after he gets the big win for New Zealand, now he's been named head coach. As New South Welshman, are you feeling better, worse, mid? Where are you at?
I definitely feel better, but every time I look at something positive, finish the others, I feel happy about it. I just keep looking over the fence and just going, fuck, it's just a juggernaut we're up against, which is what worries me. But yeah, I'm happy to see Madge. I like the names that he's picked there. I think John Cartwright sort of got the rough end of the stick on a number of situations. I've always been a big Brett White guy, but I'll leave that to Timmy.
He was he's obviously at the Broncos as assistant coach, Cartwright.
Cartwright, yeah.
Yeah, so he would have been a big help to getting them to a grand final.
Yeah, for sure. And people forget, Johnny Cartwright, he coached the Titans when they first came in. I mean, they had a top 4 finish. People forget he was an assistant coach at the Cowboys when they won their comp. He's been around success for a long time, John Cartwright, and I think he's got the rough end of the stick on a number of occasions. Matt King's obviously, he was down there in Melbourne. He spent time at South Sydney at the Roosters. As much as right now, maybe Trent Robinson isn't getting praised as much as he used to, but he's been more than happy to have Matt King next to him for a long time. The one I love, though, is Frank Panisi. You want to talk about just extended success over a long period of time. Frank Panisi, right up there. Funny story about Frank Panisi. I think it was his father or something, owned a barbershop, and one of his customers came in and said that his daughter was pregnant and they were looking for a name. Frank Panisi's dad, I think it was, suggested, what about the name Bradman? He's now playing for Newcastle at left centre.
No way. Far out.
Yeah, I remember I had Bradman Best on the podcast. He told the story. It was something like that, but yeah, where they got the name from.
That is insane. That's insane. Let's talk about having an impact on rugby league. Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with Madge before the final at the end of the season, the Kiwis. So to see that come out, obviously devastating as a Kangaroo supporter, but for the Blues, yeah, I'm really happy with Madge. I think he's pretty ruthless, pretty tough. We know the longer campaigns, there's a bit of criticism around him about being too hard, but I think he's a bloke that can come in, he can galvanise this squad, bring them together. I think he can do a terrific job. Interesting selection in assistant coaches there. Lot of Melbourne vibes coming out of it. But
that's I think really interesting is the Melbourne vibes because and I know they're not related, but Bellamy has had a crack before and it didn't seem to work for him. And that doesn't mean Bellamy's not a GOAT coach, but that's what I'm interested to see. I don't know whether they will or they won't, but I'm assuming different systems need to be put in place for a series rather than building a club. And that with Panisi, we all know, at the very least, we know he'll do a good job. The question I have is, will he do as great a job as he does at Storm? And it's not a question of me implying that he won't. It's just a genuine question. Can he take all that experience and mould it into, a campaign rather than a club?
That'll be the huge test, won't it? It's crazy. Imagine if you would have gone back 5 years ago and, compared this coaching staff to what we've had the last few years. And, you would have taken Joey, Brandy, all these guys. But, it's a change that I'm excited about now.
Yeah, after Madge's performance, and also then you look at what's going on at Tigers since he's left, and then, you look what he's kind of built in New Zealand, you go, maybe he just needed that second chance. I know he's at the Tigers, but maybe, when I spoke about this on Packer Up Boys, but we always give players so much grace to develop, but we never give coaches the grace of, they're learning as well. When 5 years old, footy players are training to be footy players. Where do you go to train to be a head coach? You don't. You basically got to roll in after your footy career at 40 years old or whatever, go coach you might get, most coaches that end up in the NRL might get 4 or 5 years in reserve grade and then they become a coach. It's a pretty short amount of time. And also reserve grade coaching to NRL coaching is it's not even in the same stratosphere. And so maybe Michael Maguire is in that position now where he's improved so much that he could be the man for the job. It's
a remarkable opportunity for his legacy if he can come out and win a series. If he goes from premiership winning coach, he gets that, what will be a very, very famous Kiwis victory just recently, record victory over the Kangaroos. If he can then land a Blues series win against what is a red-hot, now Maroon side, plenty to play out, but...
that's the most interesting thing is, and you said it, Guru, is that the fact of the matter is, when you look across the fence, it's at this stage not even in the same league. We're talking immortals of our game, essentially a whole coaching staff of them. And then battlers is not the right word, but you've got just good, solid coaches across and it's like almost, I wouldn't say, it's not a David versus Goliath thing, but in reality, we're talking about immortals versus a guy that got let go from the Tigers, obviously had the famous Kiwi wins, he's won a premiership, but he's a battler, like he's a battler that works, and again, I know battler's the wrong word because it sounds condescending, but I'm not trying to be condescending. What I'm trying to say is you're going up against the biggest names in the history of the game. It's a tough ask.
I think the other thing I like about some of these names, like Michael Maguire and Brett White, I don't like to compliment the Canberra Raiders when Tim's here, but like at the start of every season, you look at that Raiders side and you just go on paper, they can't make the top 8, sure.
Yeah.
But they fucking find a way to do it, and they hang in, and we take the piss out of them. They only win 1 to 12. They win enough to be relevant and to play finals footy. And then you get to finals footy and you go, oh, fuck, that's the team I don't want to play.
I know.
And I would like, because talent isn't our problem in New South Wales. We've got the talent. It's just about getting that mindset and having that grit in our side, which I really hope those Raiders boys can bring.
And that's the thing, like you're looking at that, you know, the roster of the coaching staff coming in and a bit of an odd mix and sort of random blokes coming in here. But State of Origin, as we know, is such a unique beast. It's nothing like club football. It's nothing like international football. You know, Queensland have this rhetoric, if we get Origin, we know that, what is the best way to coach Origin? I don't know. Like, some of the greatest coaches of all time have gone in there and had no luck. Like, it's so, what's to say this sort of mismatch of coaching stuff can't be the ones to bring out the best in them?
Well, absolutely. And even look at Freddie. I know, you know, people are very quick to dismiss what he achieved in Origin, but he struggled as a head coach in clubland, and he was really good for the first few years as a New South Wales coach. So you're right, Timmy. Like, there's no formula out there that goes what makes a good Origin coach. This might be the perfect formula where we don't need superstars to coach superstars. We need battlers. And again, I don't want to. I'm using battlers as a compliment, not as a condescending term, to just instill in them. Here's the direction, boys. Take it. But isn't it? It's what's so interesting heading into this series next year is that total polar opposite of you've got Billy Slater, Cameron Smith, Jonathan Thurston against guys that I think Cartwright, obviously Matt King, Brett White played Origin, but they didn't play a lot of Origin. Cartwright played Origin. I'm sure.
He was a great player.
So, you know what I'm saying? Against literally guys that will be etched in history as Origin kings.
There's blokes that can't get into the Maroons coaching room that we would welcome in realistically. Cooper Cronk, for example.
It's fucking crazy. Yeah, that is actually a great point. And so that's where I feel like this is, in my opinion, if I'm New South Wales and I'm the attitude guy, can I be the attitude guy?
Sure.
The attitude guy? That I'm almost going, let's do a Queensland to Queensland in, we're the battlers. We're the underdogs now. Look at these immortals. These guys, everyone loves these guys, these series wins, and Billy Slater, all the press loves him. We're the dogs now. We're the dogs hunting them. That's the mindset I'll be going in. And I think Madge, if there's one guy that is that guy, he'll be the hunter rather than the hunted.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, it's bizarre to be saying that when you're probably standing in a change room with Nath Cleary, Tom Trbojevic, Latrell Mitchell, like the absolute best of the best. But as Timmy said, Origin's a different beast, and we are the underdogs.
Yeah. Like 100%. That's the mindset I'd be settling on everyone, is we're the underdogs. Don't believe any bullshit you see in the media if, you know, it comes out that, Queensland don't have this player or that player. It's nonsense. We are underdogs. That's what I would be trying to instill in the boys. Because, as I said, when you look at the experience and everything from the coaching staffs, it's crazy the difference. But that doesn't mean that Madge can't be a fantastic Origin coach. What do you reckon, Hammy?
Yeah, I agree. I just think what he did with New Zealand, probably going into that, if he hadn't won that final, and I would have been a bit like, I wonder how this is going to go. But the fact that he was able to risole a team of legends, basically, with a similar kind of, you know, like still some really good players, but I don't know. I think he probably is the best person, the best option that they sort of had. So looking forward to a tight series as well. Guru's gone with the Canberra coaches in the coaching staff, Blues 1 to 12. So that's one to watch out for when the markets do come out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. As a Tigers fan, I've seen him go through a pretty tough time. Good to see him having some good times now, and I'm enjoying the Madge redemption arc. So, you know, still go Queensland, but, you know.
It is interesting because, the Kiwis, that's what they did in that game. They came out and said, you know, everyone's talking about Tino and Payne Haas and this crazy Australian side. No one's giving us any respect. And I think they should take that into the New South Wales. Like, guys, you have been disrespected by so many people for the last few years. It's time to go back and go, all right, now we're going to earn this. We're going to earn, I mean, they've got enough respect. But if I'm a New South Wales current player, some of the chat, just in comment sections, and I know you shouldn't read comments, but it is being disrespectful. We're talking about guys like Nathan Cleary. We're talking about guys like Payne Haas, Tedesco. Like, these are fucking top-tier players.
But it is the reality of it. You've got these top-tier players who, you know, based on results last few years, they don't have the respect that they should have in the State of Origin arena, and I think that's our biggest weapon coming into next year.
Yeah.
We got any chat about, I know in Game 3 last year, Ivan jumped in the box a little bit. I know that was with Freddie, but New South Wales won that game. Do we think he'll get involved a little bit as well? Or
I think because you've got Cartwright, Brett White, and Matt King all currently in the game, I don't think you'll see that again.
Yep.
And I think that you could see with some of the decisions that were made that they probably did miss a coach that was in the game constantly as an assistant coach or even a head coach at time, had been a head coach, just to know some of the calls to make on the fly. Because Badiris, he's obviously an assistant coach at Newcastle Knights, but it's outside of that, I don't think he's had anyone on this that were his current assistant coaches in the...
Yeah, I don't think so.
He's not an assistant at Knights.
Oh, he's not an assistant? Well, there you go.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Well, there you bloody go. So what, you had Freddie...
Randy, who's not.
Randy's not, but he's not on the coaching staff. He's just like an advisor.
Yeah. Then you had like Ciro and guys like that around, but none of them are assistants.
Coaches currently. So that's going to be interesting as well as that play-by-play.
Well, you would have to assume that if they've gone and got 3 guys that are genuine assistants, that's a ploy, right?
Yeah, surely. Now, Michael Maguire said, when you've got a clean sheet, you're definitely going to chat to everyone that might be available to you. I'm very fond of Jack. I had some quality time there with him at Canberra. He's a big game player. Everyone knows that. I'll let him find his feet at South, and when the time's right, we'll have that conversation. I fully respect where he's at and what he wants to do. Reckon, boys?
First phone call I would have made. Once again, hate to compliment the Canberra Raiders when Tim's here, but Jack Wighton is one of the few Origin players we have. He's one of the few guys that I think, if I'm Queensland and he gets picked, I go, fuck. Because you know what you're going to get for Jack. He's going to come for blood. He would have been one of the first phone calls I would have made.
Timmy, what do you reckon?
Yeah, if Madge didn't make the call, I'd done it for him, mate. So, it'd be mad not to. I'd love to see Jackie back in blue. Even when he did retire from it last year, sort of sat there and just went, don't think I've seen the last of him.
It didn't feel right.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right. Something felt like this.
It's not done yet.
Unfinished business here. Look, we've got to talk about it, but if he does get called back into the side, does that say something about the side that he retired from, or does it say more about the fact that he was just had a lot on his plate that year and he just needed to step back from the Origin arena?
I'm hoping he just had a lot on his plate, but
the questions will be asked.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think it does say something. Like,
okay.
If he comes back and goes, gets the corners, yep, I'm ready to go. Big questions have to be asked of what was going on beforehand. The other thing is, I'd love to see Jack back in Sky Blue if we're at full strength and we can, on some miracle, Tom Trebojevic and Latrell Mitchell are fit and ready to play for us and can slot in the centres. You know, there's not necessarily a spot there for him. However, he'd have been in the last 5 series sort of thing, and you probably find a spot for him somewhere. But if we're at full strength, he doesn't necessarily walk back in, but you still make the call regardless.
I just reckon you've just got to have him on the bench somewhere.
No, 14, just have it.
Yeah.
And if it's not 14, 17.
You look at all the problems we've had over the last years, whether it be Nico Hines playing centre, Damien Cook playing centre, Jack Wighton solves every single one of those problems. If Cam Murray and Isaiah Yeo get injured, Jack Wighton solves your problems. There is literally no position Jack doesn't solve.
Like, he could literally fullback as well.
Yeah, and if not, you move one of your 3 other fullbacks in the team to fullback to put him at centre. He solves everything.
Yeah. And I would back him to play front row for 20 minutes.
100% you would.
Like, he would find a way to get it done. Not for longer than that, though, because I think then his body would start to...
We've spoken about it before, but you brought up what felt like about 6 years ago, Kebby. But just seeing Jack running around the middle, it'd be so fun for a little bit.
Oh, it'd be...
I'd just seen him whack blokes.
Yeah, just give him 20 minutes, go, mate, give us everything you got.
He'd be fine.
And he's once again, if you put him on in the middle, Queensland for that period would go, oh, fuck. I don't know what to expect here.
Yeah. It would... The only thing that would go against him would be that spot call of, boys, he'll be able to take the contact for a few tackles, but that's 5th and 6th hit up that he's got to tackle friggin', Lindsay Collins is going to be tough. But it's worth it.
But that's Origin. And that's where, if Jack did come out and play 50 minutes in the front row and he did really well, I'm telling you, I wouldn't be overly shocked.
Yeah.
Because he's just that sort of guy.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think that this is after the win, and then you go back and you look at the last few years at New Zealand, you go, I think the fact they lost to Australia in the semi-finals has kind of like tainted our view on their World Cup run. I know they got close with Fiji and whatever, but like they probably should have been in the grand final with the World Cup. They just landed on the wrong side of the draw. I don't... When it first was announced, I wasn't positive. I wasn't negative. I was like, yep, kind of makes sense. I don't know how to feel that. The more that's happened and the closer I get to it, the more I'm like, you know what? It could work. It really could work.
We've got the team to win. Like, talent isn't the problem. It's just getting it all together.
Yeah.
We've always got the team to win.
Always.
Doing something about it's an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a scary prospect to think if Tommy and Trell can just stay fit, like...
I'd take one of them at this stage, just like one of them to be fully fit going into it.
Going into it, ready to go.
This is where, off the back of that grand final, like if Nath has gone to somehow another level, like, you can open any comment section anywhere and see that Nath hasn't done it in Origin, which I agree with. But if he just goes up 10%, it's game over.
Yeah, okay, I mean, Origin. Never too early. Never too early.
Never.
Now, don't forget, guys, tonight, 50% off, getting restocked, Summer Bloke shirts. Also, do not forget to grab a case of Bloke beer. Some store shout-outs here. In New South Wales, Tarrant Point IGA giving away stubby coolers from Tuesday with a 6-pack or a case of that you purchase. These guys are one of our biggest supporters in New South Wales. That's Tarrant Point in IGA. Foresters Beach Cellars. These guys have just topped up for summer. Treat yourself in these hot days. And Porter's Maroubra. Get down and say good day to Theo and grab some Bloke beer. In Queensland, Paddington's Maguire's underneath the paddo. Grab a case of Bloke beer. Common Ground Cellars, bottle shop close to the University of Queensland. Every Black Sheep bottle shop, Newmarket, The Gap, Everton Hills and Hendra. Arana Leagues Club in the bottle shop and behind the bar. And Stafford Tavern. Stafford Tavern have been with us since the very, very start, guys. Make sure to support local independent bottle stores. Now, Wayne Bennett has come out and said he's open to coaching New Zealand. I'm not retired yet, so if the Kiwis are interested, I'm certainly open to it. I've got a history with New Zealand. I was involved with the All Golds team in 2007. That was a great experience. We had a tour of England and I was coach of them. I've also worked with Steve Kearney, former Kiwis coach, when he was coaching the Kiwis and they won the World Cup in 2008 with Steve in charge. I have great affection for the Kiwis. I coached several of their guys at the Dolphins, Bromwich Boys and Sarko. The door is certainly open for me. If it's an option for New Zealand Rugby League, they know where to find me. I mean, get him in. Just pick the phone up. Surely.
It's almost a mute conversation, isn't it? Like, make a call, you have to. What?
Look, this is pure speculation, but if he doesn't become the coach now, and it's not about the financials, like as in, let's say he asks for too much, they can't afford it, it seems like Madge was pushed out by a boy's job. Like, that's... Like, why would you not take Wayne Bennett? If it's not a financial, look, if they can't afford him, I understand that. But why would you not bring Wayne in? And then whoever the guy was that they were going to replace Madge with, bring him in as assistant coach. Wayne moves on. He takes over.
For sure. And the reality is Wayne doesn't say too many things. When he comes out and says something like this, there's a reason for it.
Yeah. Mate, can you imagine him with Fisher Harris, Leota, Manu? It's like New Zealand are getting scarier by the second.
For sure.
Just like after that 30-0 win, there can be no denying that they're the best team in the world right now. They get Wayne Bennett on top of that. We're heading in, I wouldn't say as underdogs because our roster is so hectic, but it'd be pretty bloody even on the odds. It'd be pretty bloody even.
And if I'm, the Panthers, if I'm Parramatta with Dill Brown, like, I'm so excited to have some of my guys working with Wayne Bennett. Like, to think these Panthers front rowers, you're thinking right now they can't get any better.
Oh, my God.
Could be about to.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I think firstly, I don't know you blokes, but I've always found the concept of going and coaching other countries so weird.
Same.
And like I'm trying to come to terms with it, and it happens all the time in all sports, but it just feels weird to me. Like the fact that you can bleed green and gold and
Yeah.
then go and sit on the sideline and try and coach another nation to beat your country.
Yeah.
I find it so weird. However,
I personally couldn't do it.
no, I'm with you.
I couldn't do
Isn't
it.
It's like Maddie
bizarre?
supporting another country.
Yeah. Isn't it bizarre that, like as Tim said, like Wayne Bennett going to that is just out there, but everyone's sort of okay with it. But imagine if it was Wayne Bennett open to coaching New South Wales.
Yeah, it's
just-
so
it'd be
strange.
completely
It would
different.
never
Yeah.
happen.
But like you have your allegiance to your country and you have to your state. It's a
I
pretty
think-
similar concept.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think what softens the blow with this, though, is that we're trying to grow the game internationally. And so I think that, especially when he first went with the Kiwis, it was about, like, when I remember speaking to Wayne, because he coached England as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was about, I think Wayne Bennett's perspective was about growing the game, about making it competitive internationally. So I think a lot of people are like, you know what? I'd rather, even though I personally probably wouldn't do it, I'd rather a guy like Wayne help our game grow than not.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree with you, but like if Wayne's going to coach someone to help the game, is New Zealand the answer? Like I'd love to see him get a Samoa or a Tonga.
Wouldn't
One
that
of
be
these sides.
unreal?
Yeah, it'd be great.
I would say, though, I do want this Australian-New Zealand rivalry to get back to fucking
And that's
hectic.
it. Like putting the weirdness aside, if Wayne wants to do it, and by the sounds of it, he does, make the call, get him on board because he's a gun.
It's funny, Timothy, you say that because I always feel that. I'm always like imagine walking out and looking across and the green and gold's there and you're against the green and gold.
Yeah.
I'd feel
Wanting them
sick
to
to my
lose.
I'd feel sick of my stomach.
Like, how can you 100% put into your game plans and your pre-match talks to hype the boys up and that to go and get them to beat your country? I find it so odd.
I just think that, you know, from the grander scale of things, it's better for rugby league that he does it, you know? So that's where and I think that's where Wayne's coming from because he just loves rugby league. Like you read anything from Wayne, it is about the game. Like he loves it so much. And so like even though I personally wouldn't do it, I'm actually glad Wayne is doing it.
Awesome storyline if he goes and does it.
Oh.
Like, how good would that be going to the next international series?
But isn't it just the ultimate compliment to Wayne? If he coaches New Zealand, for him to coach Australia, England, and New Zealand, name me another human being that could ever weasel themselves into those positions.
I think because he's just earned so much respect.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it's just unbelievable to think about.
Yeah. And I think also, like most people understand Wayne is trying to grow the game.
Yeah.
Like if we were like Union, for example, I don't think he would do it. And I can't speak for him, but I reckon he would. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he would. Maybe he would.
I reckon now he would.
Oh, now.
Eddie Jones has coached 3 countries.
See, I don't get that. I don't get that. I do not get that. The argument against it also could be because it's a job. There's only a certain amount of jobs to have as a head coach of a nation. But it is very strange. It's very strange.
Especially Wayne, who can get any job he wants, really. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just good for the game. I just want to see Australia and New Zealand back to where where it's fully hate each other. But at the same time, we shake hands at the end of it.
I was a big fan of Dawn of the Dolphins, the Stan doco at the
Yeah.
start of the year. Bring on Dawn of the Kiwis.
Dawn of the Kiwis,
More
eh?
star-studded cast this time around. Wayne still in a central role. Great doco.
It was a good doco.
Very good.
If Wayne takes New Zealand versus Australia next year, both full strength, what are the odds of coming into the game?
I still think full strength, we should get the job done.
But what would your odds be? Like,
I think we'd be like $1.80, $1.90.
yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon, cut off the final, the result there, probably $1.70 Australia, 2.10 Kiwis.
They probably will be shorter on the markets, but it should be around that.
I don't know if they will, even after the final. Like, we've seen a history of just like whoever is the bigger side, the more noted side, who in theory should be winning, and that
Just 'cause
they're always shorter odds.
Well,
like,
and also because Australia's a bigger population.
I think that the Kangaroos will actually be shorter than that come next year.
What do you reckon not what the odds will be is because of this, a different size of countries, but fair odds heading into that.
$1.80, $2, I reckon.
Yeah. Agreed. I honestly
Don't
reckon
quote me on that. I'll have to talk to the traders.
Yeah,
but,
talk to traders.
Yeah.
I reckon it'd be quite close.
Yep.
The fair odds, as in what the reality is heading into that game. Because, again, you look at Dylan Brown and Hughes and Cheese. Like, they had their 4-string hooker and they still dusted us.
Yep.
Their front row.
Yeah, they're $4, I think.
Yeah, very exciting. Now, more huge news. Reportedly, so maybe not huge news, but reportedly, Addin Fonua-Blake has been linked to the Sharks. So Tracy and Moylan have off the Sharks books, which reportedly frees up $500K. Finucane's contract is reportedly a lot lower in 2025, which would make sense because when he signed, there was always that talk about, a 3-year deal or a 4-year deal or whatever it was. Those last couple of years, he's going to get a bit older and his body's been through a lot. They have 21 players coming off contract in 2024-25. This could give the Sharks a chance at getting Addin Fonua-Blake for 25 for a multi-year deal. And Billy Burns has obviously just signed there. Mate, if they got Addin Fonua-Blake, in my opinion, they're a premiership threat.
Yeah, for sure. And, based on what we've seen over the last 2 years, it's hard to bet against Craig Fitzgibbon. Like, how on earth he convinced Dale and Nico to go there in the situation they were in with him having no runs on the board whatsoever. They've made the finals the last 2 years, and my big sell to Addin would be, you're the missing jigsaw piece.
Well, we've spoken about it so often with the Sharkies. Do they have enough of those top tier players that can break games apart? And they've only really got Hines at the moment. Now, that's not to say Mulatalo can't. That's not to say but what I'm saying is that all of the best sides that, go on and challenge for comps, they've got 2 or 3 best in class, like purely best in class. And you add Addin to that side, you genuinely have a challenger for best in class in position. Whereas like Hines at 7, I know he won the Dally M, but Cleary is the best 7. Hines is in the top 5, but he's not best in class yet. Now, Hines absolutely can get to close to best in class if he keeps improving year on year. Now, he probably won't surpass Cleary, but outside of that, he could get best in class. But a guy like Addin Fonua-Blake genuinely is already in that discussion right now. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, definitely turns into premiership contenders, and they're not lacking a middle. Like, their squad's outstanding, their middles are very good. But if we're talking premiership contenders, they're lacking that strike middle. They've got Dale Finucane, Toby Rudolph, Hamlin-Uele, Jack Williams, some really good middle forwards. But we know that the Sharks in recent years have struggled against top 4 sides really poorly. That could be the factor. There's no, we will match you in the middle. And I think they've got, from Nico Hines to that star outside backside, that there's enough strike out wide in the entire backline for me to compete with the best and win a title, but they're just probably lacking that little bit of punch through the middle. And the other thing, AFB, who's missed a few games and can find a little injury niggle, played a lot of games this year between Rudolph, Finucane, Hamlin-Uele, Jack Williams himself. A lot of injuries, a lot of missed time. If they can get AFB in there fit and healthy off the back of what he did last year for the Warriors and play big minutes not even big minutes, play frequently and play most games, it'd be huge for them. And I know there's probably the argument that the Warriors didn't have a great record against top 4 sides either, but Fonua-Blake was pretty damn good, as we know. Dally M medal prop of the year, so Dally M prop of the year, I should say.
Well, we saw what SJ could do with Fonua-Blake's ball playing. Imagine what Hines could do on that front foot footy with Addin Fonua-Blake. It would be unbelievable.
Opens up Blake Brayley's running game, that bit extra as
massively.
well.
And then you've got great scooters in Mulatalo, Katoa. I mean, I think that Sharks' backline is probably the most underrated backline in the competition. Now, I'm not saying it's the best, but I do think that it doesn't get enough appreciation for how high quality it is across the board. What do you reckon, AFB, Sharkies?
Well, I just think AFB, we've heard a lot of clubs come out and say they're keen on him, but this is probably the one club, if you're AFB, you're like, I wouldn't mind going there. They might actually,
good point,
win something. I still think he'd look great in orange and black and white, but if you're him and a club like this wants you, you seriously have to think about it. You're still going to get some pretty good coin.
Good coin and maybe a chance at, would probably finals footy.
Yep. And
also a chance at making a run.
Yep. Whereas if he goes to some of the other clubs that have been talking about him, he's getting the good coin, but probably battling a bit, not enjoying his footy as much. So this could be a good fit for him.
I really want to see him lob at the Dragons or the Bulldogs. It's kind of that from a just general footy fan, or Tigers, from a general footy fan perspective. It'd be great to see him go to the Sharks and turn them into a premiership threat alongside the big dogs in the competition. But from a footy fan, I don't want to be having these same conversations next year about the Dragons pack and the doggies missing the middle. I'd love to see him go in and shore up one of them two sides.
Yeah.
However, everything you boys just said, depending what the value is and what the Sharks can offer him compared to clubs like the Bulldogs and the Dragons, if he gets the right offer, surely that's the club that makes the most sense to him.
I think just a little bit off topic, I guess, but I think a really interesting one. Matt Moylan obviously left a few weeks ago, and you know, we always had those stats that we talked about where, you know, how impressive Matt Moylan is without us really noticing. One thing that I noticed towards the back end of last season, I don't think Trindle and Hines are a perfect match for each other. I think they sort of, almost their abilities clashed a little bit on field, whereas Moylan was very sit back, let Nico run the entire show. I think that's going to be an interesting little storyline coming into next year.
It is so disappointing that Moylan's defence went to the shit last year because you're spot on. Moylan and Nico in attack was so synchronised. I don't know how they did it so well on such, having just paired up together, Nico in the halves playing such a unique style. Matty Moylan himself's pretty unique half with a fullback running background. I just wish Moylan could have got his defence together because that was, in attack, that was something special.
Yeah. I reckon it'll be a talking point for the start of next year.
I think that it's not a physical ability thing. I think Trindle just has to kind of accept that this is Nico's team.
Yep.
And I think the key to Matty Moylan's great form was just like an older head going, I'm totally okay with being in the back seat and just going, yep, sweet, whatever you want, wherever you want.
Which people in the comment section will bag, he doesn't do anything, but like sometimes not overplaying your hand is the best thing you can do in a footy side.
When you've got a guy like Hines, who we just see tear teams apart,
Yep.
unfortunately, you have to play your role in a side. You may be a gun ball runner in another team, you're the main guy, but Hines needs a guy that's just going to get him good ball in good field position and do exactly what he needs to do. Look, Trindle's young. I do think it would be a talking point, but I think Fitzgibbon will be aware of this, and he'll prepare Trindle for mate. There's going to be times where you're going to want to take the line on or something's going to happen. You've just got to quell that a little bit and understand that Hines is the tip of the spear for us at the moment. But as you develop, you'll get more in tune with knowing when to inject yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, as we said with Matt Moylan, that, you know, he just used to sit back. I think a classic example is what Mitch Kenny's done at the Panthers. Coming into that side, as I said, all preseason, I didn't think he was going to be able to do it. But he's played his role perfectly.
When you talk about like playing your role, he genuinely might be the best role player in the competition.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Because he's so good that you don't even notice him.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment because he has removed his ego to the nth degree and said, I am doing exactly what Nathan and Jarome want me to do. Every single, not just, like, when was the last time you saw Kenny do something selfish and went, fuck me, Mitch, just give him the ball? Never. Literally never.
And then, you know, there's every chance him just playing his role in a couple of years' time, we're going to look back and go, okay, Mitch Kenny's got the most premierships for a hooker not named Cameron Smith.
I know. It's actually insane.
He's at 2 now.
And like you don't, and no one talks about his defence. When was the last time you saw your game and you were like, Mitch Kenny, he missed 7 tackles. Like, Mitch Kenny's got to be probably the most underrated player in the comp. Now, I'm not sitting here saying he's out there going to be, you know, Smithy or Danny Badiris, but something is to be said. When Cleary does what he does, he's not going to do that with a 9 that is not high quality.
Yeah.
He's just not.
I guarantee you, Ivan Cleary next year, he'll play Mitch Kenny for 50, 60 minutes, but then come finals time, he'll play 80 in those games.
Yeah. What a story with Mitch Kenny, like a utility forward, half. Like, I don't even know what position he was.
Just a tough kid.
Just a tough motherfucker that was willing to do what's best for the team. And you know what? He really represents what Penrith's all about, is playing your role for a side. He finds himself as the starting 9 and arguably played their best year and their best grand final after losing a guy like Api Coruscant, who is unbelievable.
Yeah, and, you know, if you go back and watch that last set of 6, Cleary scores the try, gets all the applause. Mitch Kenny dominated that entire set.
Yeah,
you could have put Cam Smith at hooker in that set, and I don't think he could have done better than what Mitch Kenny did.
Well, he did exactly what was needed in the set. He gets no. I mean, Penrith fans appreciate the fuck out of him, but mate, what an interesting player because, you know, he's got his own needs as well. So it's like, do you stay on probably not that much coin? What do you do heading forward? He's only going to get better. I wonder how old he is. How old he is? 25,
26, I'd say.
So he's going to get better and better and better.
And like, if you don't know what we're talking about, go back and watch that last set of 6 and watch no one but Mitch Kenny and just how he manipulates the markers. Even just little things like there's 2 tackles where he leans to the right and Reece Walsh chases out. He comes down the left and has I think it's Jordan Ricky has him exactly where he wants him for 2 tackles in a row. It's incredible.
Also, the Sharkies, Billy Burns has just signed there. I actually I really like this. Really like this signing. I know, so he's at Penrith, so he's highly touted. They wouldn't bring him if he wasn't. And obviously went to Dragons, didn't seem to work out. It's hard to rate a guy at the Dragons at the moment because of the current state the club is in. Now, how much have we been talking about that edge back row and being like, Sharkies just need either depth there or find someone. I really like this signing. I really do. And I think if there's one coach that Billy Burns could probably really flourish under, it's a guy like Craig Fitzgibbon.
Mate, to be honest with you, I spoke about him a lot the back end of last year at the Dragons. I thought it kind of did work out, but they were just such a shit show that no one talked about him or noticed him. I thought he was really good towards the back end of the season. There was him and the other back rower that played for PNG. His name escapes me at the moment.
Couchman?
No. Matty, kind of redheaded guy. I forget his name. His last name's like Anderson or something. But I thought Burns was...
really Anderson vibes about it.
It's going to be nothing like Anderson you watch. What?
Dan Russell.
Yeah, Dan Anderson Russell. But yeah, I thought Billy Burns was very good at the back end of the season. As you said, with Wade Graham gone now, there is that left edge spot. I thought maybe shifting Talakai in there was the answer, but maybe it could be Burns.
It gives them that competition for the spot that they desperately
needed, yeah.
Whether or not Billy Burns is that man or not, I don't know. Teague Wilton has a bright future, but had defensive issues last year. And when he got injured, I think he was probably also on the precipice of a change coming anyway because that edge was in all sorts. But Wilton's coming back from injury. Whether they wanted to maybe look at shifting Seafer there. Like Wade Graham came in the back end of the year and sorted that side out defensively. I think that flew really under the radar, how well the impact he had there. But they needed depth for that left edge position. So between now Seafer, Wilton, and now Burns, it just gives them a few options. And yeah, a few little Jackson Ford vibes about this one out of the Dragons.
I like it.
We sit there in 6-12 months and go, they let another good one go.
Now listen, Sharkies fans, if at any stage there's booing going on and you don't turn to your mate and go, I was saying boo earns. It's a travesty. It's a travesty.
Absolute half volley.
It's like, seriously, it's there for you. Every game. You can go, boo, I was saying boo. You can do it literally every single game.
Do we need to draw you a diagram?
Yeah, seriously.
And
seriously.
it's also going to be hilarious every time.
Every single time. If not for your friend, at least for you. At least for you. So, yeah, I like the signing. Billy Burns on the edge there. Alrighty, more NRL news. Don't forget, guys, grab a case of Bloke beer, the beer of Australian sport. It's the beer for blokes to turn up, for families, mates, and good times. Aussie spirit in a can. So make sure, get down your local, grab a case. If you're driving right now, you haven't given it a try, you're like, you know what, I'm going to give Bloke beer a try. Get down to your local, give her a try. It's an absolutely beautiful, easy drinking beer, the midi and the full strength. Now, Jayden Sullivan has come out and quoted saying, I felt like I was going to be a one-club person, Dragon always. But I wanted and needed an opportunity. I still love the Dragons. There's no bad blood there. So who's to know where my career is going to end up? Look, this isn't like crazy that a young player would say this. It's quite normal. You know, young players are usually quite idealistic and want to be a one-club player. I think that the key in this sentence that really surprises me is I wanted and needed an opportunity. So my assumption is that he was basically told, you know, at this stage, you're not in the first grade side. That's what shocks me that much is that with everything going on with Ben Hunt and everything going on with, you know, Amon as well, to tell your gun next 7 or 6, basically you're not in first grade and opportunity can be found elsewhere, that is extremely surprising to me.
Well, it either says he was told or maybe he was just told nothing and left in the dark. That's the side I'd probably lean towards.
Then why would they release him? Like, do you know what I mean? The fact that they released him says that he wasn't. Because if he was, they would have said, mate, no way. Like, you're the next in line.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, what have they seen that we haven't? Like, he just looks so good.
And even if he struggled a little bit, what else is out there? And you're the Dragons right now. Both of your halves are under clouds. And you don't have any more in the squad at this stage that are even close. Like Benny Hunt under a cloud as to whether he would have stayed. Because remember, he released 3 or 4 months ago. Amon, obviously everything he's going through, super bizarre. It makes no sense to me that you would go to the next guy in line. Some would argue that he should be in front of Amon in line, but the next guy in line, and you would say, yes, we grant you a release. Unless, maybe from Sullivan's perspective, he means, I want to play first grade right now. And Dragons were like, you're not going to be playing first grade for another year or two. But the whole relationship, the Sullivan-Dragons relationship never seemed to work as well as you would have hoped.
Mate, the whole thing, like a few years ago when you had Bud, Sloan and these boys playing, like they won an SG ball comp a couple of years ago and the Dragons were just sitting there going, we're set for the next decade.
They had like 5 of the best young their talent was so good, it rivaled the next generation of Panthers players. Yep. And you're going to say that's hyperbolic. It's absolutely not.
It's not. It's how it was.
And now we've got Sloan as well coming up soon. Obviously, Amon is dealing with what he's dealing with. Essentially, all of them are gone.
Yep.
Did Sullivan get released before Hunt came out and said he wanted a release? What was the time?
No, I think it was after.
Yeah, I think it was well and truly after.
Like substantially after.
I know, there's so much to unpack with it, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes we don't know about. But when Hunt came out and said he didn't want to be there, and you had Sullivan and Amon, who are both have such bright futures, whether or not they're ready to both lead, a side now. But you think back and you just go, do you just sit there and go, Benny, you can go, we'll free up $1 million, we'll run these 2 very bright talents in our halves. We're clearly in a massive rebuilding phase as it is, and we'll use the $1 million from Ben Hunt to go towards a gun fullback or a gun number 9. And again, I know there wasn't a heap on the market, so maybe they've just gone, no, we don't have anyone that we can get, but...
Well, how I know it was after? It's because that's exactly what I suggested.
Yeah.
I said, look, at this stage, even with Benny Hunt in the side, you aren't playing finals footy and you're coming 14th, 15th. So look, if you bring Bud and Amon in and you win the wooden spoon, I understand it's humiliating or whatever, but you know what's more humiliating? Staying at the bottom of the table for the next 4 or 5 years. That's what I couldn't understand. When Benny Hunt, the thing is the Ben Hunt thing became public, at a certain date. It would have been weeks and weeks, if not months before they were aware that Ben Hunt wanted to leave. So what I don't get is they didn't go, okay, let's try and get him to stay for the first whatever weeks or month. Once you realise he is gone, especially when we heard stuff that he's willing to pay to leave, make the best of a bad situation and go, okay, he's gone. Let's get a good trade for him. We bring in Bud, we bring in Amon, and we, at the very least, we buy ourselves some good grace from the fans by saying, guys, this is a bit of ahead of their time, but we're building towards the future.
Yeah. As opposed to you're in a premiership window and Hunt wants to leave, you're like, mate, premiership windows are so small in the NRL, as we know. You're like, we can win this now. We need you to do that. It would be a different story. Yeah. But that wasn't. It was a complete opposite to that.
It doesn't. And I know I get the understanding of people going, well, they're standing strong and standing firm and setting, whatever. It's like, look, I get that. But at the end of the day, standing strong doesn't win you matches and it doesn't help you win premierships in the future years when it comes to keeping players. What does is creating the best environment in the team to win matches.
And I understand what you're saying there, but I look at it as going like, is it a strong culture to want to make people that don't want to be there stay there?
No, that's the point I'm making.
I cannot believe Ben Hunt's still there, to be completely honest with you. I love Benny Hunt. I'm a huge fan of him. But I can't believe the Dragons have made the decision to let a guy like Bud go and keep Ben Hunt there.
And a guy like Bud that wants to be there.
Bud's not there and saying he wants to be there. Yeah. Ben's the captain and saying he doesn't want to be there.
It just shows you, and I know that a lot of fans feel like it's a bit of a cop-out. And look, Benny Hunt's responsible. He signed a contract. Bud Sullivan, he's all responsible. They're both adults. But at the end of the day, this is a reflection of a club that hasn't been run well for a few years now. Yeah. This is where poorly run clubs end up, where you're scratching your head. Like, sorry, mate, but you look at the Tigers. When we look at their decisions sometimes, we go, what the hell is going on? And it's the same thing with the Dragons. You go, what the hell is going on? Where the Bulldogs, at least, you're going, look, there's a clear path they're trying. Now, we'll be critical if that path doesn't come to fruition. And even with those decisions, they were super underwhelming this year. But at least at the Bulldogs, you can see a path forward. I don't really... Even the Tigers, to a degree, I see a path forward. Benji, they've got a decent roster. At the Dragons, what is the path forward at the moment?
Isn't it crazy when you look back at Mary McGregor's time and how much the media went after him and how much it was a shit show then? And if I was a Dragons fan, I'd give my right arm to go back to what it was like with Mary.
They had equal most rep players when Mary was there. 5 or 6 Origin players.
Yeah.
And yeah, mate. Yeah, and isn't it interesting how the media can create this vibe so quickly that like Mary just can't coach. He's a bad coach. And it's like, okay, for sure, coaches take the full brunt of most results. But how often do we see the coach get moved on and they just go complete shit? And you go, okay, was he a bad coach or was he in a bad environment and the people above him are not good at running the club? That's what it seems like to me. I mean, look, West Tigers, Michael Maguire. By the end of his tenure, he was like, everyone agreed that he just couldn't coach anymore. It was gone. Now we all look at it and go, okay, maybe he was doing the best with what he got.
Yeah.
Well, I think those 3 years the Tigers finished 9, 10 and 11.
Imagine Madge with this squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now. Like, imagine what Madge could do with this squad now. Look, when you look at the roster Madge was rolling around with compared to what they've got now.
Was Madge actually a miracle worker?
Yeah.
Like getting them tonight.
Seriously.
Come back, Madge.
Bring it back.
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned the Tigers there. Bud Sullivan, he said he wanted to be a one-club player. I think he'll be a two-club player with a couple of premierships under the belt.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
That's your prediction?
Clip that up.
Okay, clip it up. There it is. He said it.
Yep.
Hammy said it. I'm excited for Sullivan, though. I'm excited because we haven't seen the best of him yet. We've seen flashes of brilliance in his game, but if he hits his potential, like a lot of fans haven't seen how good the kid can be.
Yeah. And I think eventually, I think a lot of people, because he's played a bit of 14 and all that, I think he'll end up being a genuine halfback.
He is a genuine halfback.
Yeah.
Let's get...
But I think a lot of people can't see that at the moment.
Oh, for sure.
Because he's been fucked around in so many different positions. He's a genuine 7.
He's out and out 7. Like, he is a 7 that... He's not the same as Sam Walker, but he's an electrifying 7 that is an attacking absolute monster. And to have him as the bash around guy that gets put in 14 and he's got to play lock, he's got to play hooker, it's like, mate, that is not what he is made
He
for.
said he wants to play 7 too. He was asked about it recently. He goes, I want it.
All he's ever been is a 7.
Yep.
And like, I think he has the talent to be a good 6 as well. But I think eventually he'll be a 7. I really do. Tyrell Sloan has also come out and he has been quoted. Comments on wanting to play fullback. I really want to step up and make that position right. On defence, he said, it's something I do lack. I'll be honest. I do lack there. I do save tries too, though. These moments are there where I'm good and there's moments there where I'm bad. You are your own worst critic and sometimes I come out of a tackle feeling for myself. And not just myself, but letting my team down. I think what he meant by feeling for myself is in like, I'm angry at myself for not feeling like sorry for himself, but letting my team down. I mean, look, they're accurate comments, and it's good that he's being quite honest. I really do respect this from young players of going, you know what? Yeah, I do, and he's 100% right. Some games you're like, Tyrell Sloan, love it, and then other games you're like, fuck, what's going on there? It's just a matter of executing now. You know, now you're aware and you've publicly said that. You've always made yourself accountable now.
Yeah, and we sat here 12 months ago and he also pointed out flaws in his game and things he'd done wrong. So absolutely no. In fact, it's pretty commendable on that he does come out publicly and say, no, I do this wrong, I do this wrong. He doesn't make excuses. I love that about Tyrell Sloan. So, but you know, so we saw similar sort of quotes, I believe, last year, and the jury's out on him. I'm far from convinced, and I'm not sure he has what it takes to be the week in, week out, consistent NRL footballer. That being said, he's still young. He clearly knows he's doing wrong, and he's happy to admit that, which goes a long way to improving these things. And I'm not convinced by him, but he's also got so much potential that in like 6 months' time, we could be looking back at this moment going, you're an idiot, because he's a superstar.
Yeah.
He's got it in him, but I am a long way from convinced.
Well, he's at this stage of his career where words are irrelevant now. I think words were relevant, and I'm fully agree with you, I've already said it, but I'm really commendable that he's been open and honest. So it's not to say don't be open and honest. It's getting to the point of his career where you don't say it, just show us.
Yeah.
Just show us, because we've said this a couple of years now, which is understandable. Young players take time to develop. I was guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. You know, he's going to have played more NRL games than me and a better NRL player than me. But he's at a stage now where, okay, we appreciate it, and so commendable that he's come out and been honest like that. But need to show us, because another year of this, and unfortunately, it'll be minimum contract somewhere else or Super League.
Well, and yeah, I think that's, this is his last year at the Dragons, and we could get to halfway through this year, and if he plays his absolute best footy during the year, he could have 16 clubs lining up.
Yeah, seriously.
But if he does what he's done, Super League could be his only option.
Yeah,
that's the reality of it.
It could so easily be either end of that spectrum, couldn't it?
Like we could be sitting here going, like this young superstar kid. He's exploded onto the scene. He's the best young fullback in the competition. Like that's his ceiling, but it's just the consistency and just committing to the game. Just committing, going 80 minutes, fully zoned in. I'm fucking here for 80 minutes, not, score a length of the field try and then I might, switch off for a little bit. It's 80 minutes of just fully committing to it. And I hope he does, man, because he seems like a great kid. He really does. But he really is at the point of his career where it's now or never.
Yeah.
It really is now or never.
And the reality is he's in a tough spot because based off his performances the last few years, like this year, he can't be good. He has to be great.
Yeah.
Or people are going to come after him.
And he has to be consistent as well. Like he can't go 4 good games and 1 bad game because as soon as he has the bad game, the world's going to end.
That's the exact script we're all expecting.
Yeah. But if he goes, honestly, he'd be better off if he went 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 5 out of 10. He'd actually be better off going 8 out of 10 for the whole year.
Yeah.
Just 8 out of 10. Oh, yeah. He would be better off at the end of the year. Fans going, Sloan was pretty good this year. Then, fuck, did you see Sloan's incredible fucking highlight reel? But geez, some of his moves.
He touches on it, but I just want to see him throwing his body at blokes in defence.
Yeah, for sure.
And putting it out there. And he might get shrugged off or thrown or whatever because he's a bit leaner, a bit smaller and that. But I don't care. I just want to see the attitude defensively. We know he can do it in attack. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of positioning and stuff that needs work, but defensively is where the attitude comes in. You go, do you really want to do this or not? Do you want to get in front of Mike Acevo that's about to absolutely steamroll you and you're a 1% chance of stopping and saving a try? Or do you want to let him through? Because that's what you need to do to be an NRL player.
Absolutely. And that's like what was so commendable as part of Reece Walsh's game this year that I felt improved a lot is that he was willing to put his body in front of the line. I think it's what's been so commendable with Kalen Ponga pretty much from the get-go. He's always been willing to put his body in front. Now, sometimes his defence lapsed early on in his career, but he's gotten so much better at it. Teddy's gotten better at it. Gutho, that defensive position at a fullback, it's a tough position. And not just tough as in put your body in front, just getting your body in the right position in these one-on-one situations.
Well, use Tedesco as an example, and I just mentioned, when Tyrell Sloan next is one-on-one with Mike Acevo, James Tedesco tried to stop Mike Acevo once and got knocked out to Kingdom Come.
Exactly.
He had a crack.
And, some people online talk shit about it, but the silent majority go, he had a fucking dig.
Yeah, and it's easy to say, Tim's sitting there saying, put your body in front of Mike Acevo's steamroller. Well, I'm not an NRL player and never will be. So that's what Tyrell needs to do.
Not with that attitude, mate.
No. Yeah, still time.
Now, also, Bulldogs have met with Jarome Luai. Look, I get it and they've just met to see whether he's open to leaving the Penrith Panthers. I don't know if this is the right fit for him because I know there's been chat around Burton moving back to the centres. I just wonder how their salary cap would be balanced with a guy like Critter, who may or may not work at fullback, but we know he's a good centre. Put it this way, the salary cap, if Burton and Critter end up in the centres, now that's an incredible fucking centre pairing, unbelievable centre pairing. But I'm assuming they're both on pretty big wicket. So I don't know how the salary cap would balance out that way. What do you guys think about Bulldogs with Jarome Luai?
I don't think so. I agree with you, mate. I think Burton, they've addressed him as their guy moving forward, and I still think he is their guy.
Yeah,
if you expected Burton to arrive at Canterbury after 30 first-grade games,
he's still so young.
To turn a team that was coming dead last year in, year out, around straight away, I don't know what to tell you. He's a 5'8". Some people want to argue that his best position is centre. They had him playing halfback last year.
That was crazy.
That was wild.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Toby Sexton's going to be the guy at Canterbury, and I thought that he had a very positive impact on them last year. But I'd just be going all in on Matty Burton. He's also just what Canterbury's about. He's got a bit of shit in him. When Canterbury's at their best, they've got cocky guys like Matt Burton going about their business.
I just think that, you're telling me you can't turn him into a good six? Fuck. He's still so young. He's got everything you need to be a big, good ball running six. I don't understand. I don't get the look, I understand it because he's so good at centre, but it's like, are you not seeing what I'm saying? I feel like he can be a good six. Now, I'm not saying he will end up being one of the better sixes in the competition, but he has all the ingredients. Yeah. All the ingredients to be a good quality six. Just give him a bit of time there in a good squad. Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Oh, same as you boys. My mind, when I saw this news, it wasn't even about Luai. I just went straight to Matty Burton. Because if Luai signs with them, well, they're fully serious about the Burton to centre move, which is fine, but I don't think long-term you're probably going to persist with Burton and Luai in the halves because they're two out-and-out 5'8". We've seen Luai, at the World Cup. We've spoken about it recently, but he can play 7, but his best footy's at number 6. The combination there with Viliami Kikau, if Luai rocked up, that'd be outstanding. It could work, but as I said, it's pushing Burton to centre. And you've already touched on it, but Burton is not a 7. He doesn't talk enough on field. Apparently he's very quiet, and it's easy to say you can get this confidence and you can get the chat into players out there, but it's not that easy. Some people just don't have it in them. Yeah. And that's fine. Yeah, and that's fine. He can be a great number 6. It obviously means he needs the right number 7 with him to talk, but if Luai is to end up there, I think it's putting Burton to centre where I just think he's wasted with what he's capable of.
Yeah, I think as well, give Sexton a crack. He's still young as well. I don't see why he can't work out. I really don't.
And Sexton came into that side halfway through the season. Didn't have a pre-season or anything with him. It's tough as a halfback to come in mid-season, and I thought he did really well.
And apparently he came straight in. I know the Doggies didn't necessarily finish the season on fire when Sexton came in, but it was also at the end of the year, that time, whatever. You're not going to change things straight away. But Sexton, on all reports, is a talker. And he rocked up at the club and he had ideas and he'd chat to Serraldo and say, what about this, this and this? That is what Burton needs. So give that combination some time to flourish because it could be something special.
Agreed. And also, it's not going to, Burton eventually maybe breaks the bank, but Sexton, Burton, Marnie and Critter, they're not breaking the bank. Critter right now is not on $1 million. Burton definitely isn't. Sexton isn't. Marnie isn't close. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you've got this spine that's quite a good building spine. And also, if Burton does become the player he can, and if Critter does as well, you've got a spine in 4 or 5 years that maybe could challenge for top 4.
I'll tell you the other one too. I know people probably aren't looking at him as a halfback, but they could do much worse than having Hutcho at halfback.
Absolutely agree. Fucking oath. We saw what he did with the Roosters at the back of the year. Very unlucky to get dropped. So Luai at Bulldogs, I just don't know. I don't know if it works positionally, but also don't know if it works salary cap wise long term for them, because the risk of ending up with Critter and Burton in the centres, I just don't think they're a club that can afford that because they're not challenging for premierships, so they're not owners. You can't have both your centres as highest paid players.
Yeah, for sure. And I see that in the comments all the time. People saying, these guys aren't playing their best positions. Just play them at centre. I'm like, if you've got a gun centre, that's the icing on the cake. If you don't have the fucking cake, what's the point?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. They are not, if they sign with, the Broncos or with the Panthers, sure, play them in at centre, their absolute best position potentially, but you Canterbury, you need to get off the bottom of the ladder. You need your stars having as much ball as they possibly can.
Straight icing will make you sick.
That's it. We've always said it.
Cody Nikorima. Nikorima says he's putting his hand up, play 6 this year. 11 of his 21 games last year were at 6, with the rest being a fullback, centre or bench. So this would mean it would be Sullivan and Nikorima if he gets that spot. What do you reckon, boys?
I'm just not convinced on him defensively in the front line. I love Nikorima as a footballer. I thought he was awesome at fullback last year, and he had a bunch of good moments in the halves. I love that he's put his hand up and said, I want the 6th spot. And I think he's capable of it, but he's very small. He's a very easy target for the opposition to go out in attack. I think he's too small to defend in the front line. Okay.
See, I think 80 minutes of it on an edge, it's a bit tough. I think he's a good 14. I really like him
I do
at 14.
Too. Yeah. He can do it in periods, but not 80 minutes.
Yeah, 80 minutes is a bit tough because you just get spotted up. Whereas if you come on the field for 20 minutes on either side of the half or whenever, you can just get through it. You can just get through it. And also the reads aren't as tough because you've got blokes around you.
You're not as fatigued. Like it just becomes
absolutely
a bit easier.
I like it. I think he's in today's modern game a really good 14.
He's the 14 that gives you nightmares. He's the last player you want to see come on the field.
Absolutely. And look, obviously he wants to start. That's what you want your players to. But like the fact that he killed it at fullback, like that just adds extra weight to him being a 14. Like if the Dolphins are to make the 8 next year, I can see him being one of the best utilities in the competition.
Yep.
Especially with like HIAs more than anything, with how easily people go off due to HIAs and you have to bring on this utility. He probably plays a lot of games, not a lot of games, but if he's 14, he probably ends up playing a lot of minutes throughout the year anyway as a 14 and gets his opportunities at fullback or in the halves or wherever it might be.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. Now, 2024 is the last year of Angus Crichton's contract. No deal has been done, reportedly. Very interesting, Angus Crichton at the moment. What do you reckon's going on there? Do you reckon...
Does no one talking about it, does that mean the Roosters have got him?
Well, I think the Roosters, like even Joey Manu as well, is currently on the market. But it's like the Roosters only deal with player managers that don't put shit in the media. I know that the Rugby Union stuff came out, but outside of that, geez, don't they keep it squeaky clean? You don't hear anything.
And the player managers probably know it's in their best interest to keep it.
Yeah, just keep it all quiet.
Yeah.
It's going to be... where do you reckon a guy like Angus Crichton could end up? Because he's on his day one of the best back rowers in the comp.
And you mentioned Guru, I think last week we were speaking about it, when they re-signed a few back rowers in Tupanua and you're like, geez, they've got a lot of back rowers.
Like I thought Satili would be leaving for sure. Especially when he got all those injuries. It was really bad timing, but that's the reality of the NRL. It's cutthroat. And by that point, I knew Wong had come along and he'd impress. I don't know how they fit them all in. And I was really shocked when Satili re-signed the other day because it made me straight away go, well, where does Angus fit in?
Yeah, what is he? Is he going to play middle or... Yeah, as I said...
It reeks of rugby.
You reckon he'll end there?
I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, the World Cup coming up, they're looking for this marquee signing and Crichton. And from a Roosters perspective, like, when Crichton came back mid-season, it was one of the good stories of Rugby League this season. He didn't come back the same footballer as the World Cup the year prior. Whether or not he can rediscover that form, I don't know. If he comes back for pre-season, that'll obviously be quite telling, but, he's on a pretty good wicket there. So if he replicates what he did the back end of last year, well, he won't be worth that money, but at his best, as you said, Kempy, he's a Kangaroo starting edge back rower.
Yeah,
so
bloody good one of that.
Was he not off to rugby and then...
Well, it was all reportedly,
Yeah.
and he said, she said, and
Yeah.
we never offered this, and we did. I'm not sure. But if he finds his form and he does end up in Union, he was a gun Union player. Like, tore that. If you go back and watch his highlights at school,
Scott's boy.
Like, tore it apart.
Yep.
Tore it apart. So interesting. Now, Joey Manu. Really, like, what I'm so surprised about this is you'd think there'd be at least 5 or 6 other clubs clamouring to get a piece of Joey Manu. And maybe that is the case and his player manager is just being really respectful for the Roosters, but I'm a bit surprised that, A, he hasn't been re-signed. Think about it. Joey Manu hasn't been re-signed. And B, we're hearing the only noise we heard was from Dragons because Flanagan came out and said something. Outside of that, we're hearing no noise.
We're the only ones talking about it.
Yeah.
Ever. It's wild.
Joey Manu, Golden Boot winner, one of the best outside backs in the competition, bar none.
Once again, Roosters. Just...
It's bizarre. Yeah. It's bizarre. But that's the thing, though. Like, that's what's surprising is, for sure, once again, the Roosters. But why haven't they re-signed him yet then?
It's interesting because, like, all the chat is with Joey Manu and, like, what he could command at fullback. You hear it all the time. And while he's off contract or, can negotiate, we're going to keep hearing these storylines around it. I have been vocal that I wouldn't pay him fullback money because I don't think he's a fullback. I think he's a centre. But I'm also very surprised there's not an NRL club out there willing to pay him fullback money. So, mate, come across, play fullback, we'll give you $1 million.
Yeah, because I just think that although I would play him at centre, there are clubs that will be better sides and need to spend the money anyway for a fullback. So it's like, look, okay, maybe he's not at the moment. He probably could work on his ball playing, whatever. But we're going to be in a better position and we don't get to keep that money from two. If we don't spend the money, we don't get to keep it for next year.
Yeah. Love him at the Dragons.
I think he'd be great at the Dragons. I really do. At fullback there, I really think he would help.
Even there again, don't think he was fullback, but what he would bring to them, just 25 tough carries a game. He'd be rock solid defensively.
A bit of spark.
Yeah,
Like churn the ruck up a little bit to give the boys a bit of space to move in.
Yeah, I think he'd be a great fit there.
While you were tailgating, Flano came out and said he'd be keen, didn't he?
He did. But that's the thing. We haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah.
That's what's so surprising. So, yeah. Anyway, speaking of Union, I was speaking of Angus Crichton, but Union. So, Rugby Australia has taken another step in its bid to make the game safer, enacting a 2-year below the sternum tackle trial for
That'll be
community
easy
rugby.
to police.
Yeah, heaps easy. Like, you won't put your bumper bars up or anything to bump someone. Like, if I put my bumper bars up and it hits me, boom, penalty.
More penalties.
Rugby Australia, yeah, that'll make the game more enjoyable. Current legal tackle height is below the shoulder. It's pretty common. Rugby Australia on Friday announced the trial, which will extend to all forms of the game below Super Rugby level, including Premier Grade, Shoot, Shield and Hospital Cup, school and club competitions and their associated pathways that commence after February 14th next year. Trials of lower tackling heights have already taken place in France, England, New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland, Wales, Scotland. Preliminary data from a similar trial in South Africa has shown a 30% reduction in concussions, while France recorded a 64% reduction in head-on-head contact, as well as a 14% increase in participation on pre-COVID levels. So I would love to see those studies, because you would, and it's just an assumption, but you would kind of feel like they're going into that studies with a bias, already looking for
how do we make these numbers work?
Exactly, because if those people are doing those studies, I'm assuming if they came out and said, "Oh shit, doesn't make the game safer," because like I've read reports saying that most knockouts are actually from tackling people rather than from running the ball. So the people defending. So, I would love to read that. And look, if that's the truth, then that's great or whatever. Look, I think this is... I just don't know how this helps the game in Australia specifically. I can't speak for the rest of the world. I know the argument, Union's bigger in the world or whatever, but Union in the world doesn't compete against League. The current environment in Rugby Australia, you are competing against League. Maybe it'll get more participation, but I don't know, man. I don't think that this is going to end well for Rugby Australia. Now, could this be the nail in the coffin, or is it the coffin already got a nail in it? I don't know.
You never have too many nails in the coffin, though.
True. This is going to be so hard to police. I just think we need to get to a point where, yes, we should 100% care about player safety. Yes, we should do what we can whenever there's a knockout, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, at some point, you have to accept that you are going to get head knocks whilst playing a contact sport.
Yeah, I always come back to what James Graham said a few months ago. I think it's perfect that, some sports aren't for everyone. League definitely isn't, and, I'm not a Union guy, but it looks to me like Union isn't either.
So it said, 64% reduction in head-to-head contact. Well, obviously, that's, that little line there is like,
that's it, yeah.
Almost sounds like you're intentionally just using that stat.
You made a good point there, Kempy. Firstly, spare a thought for referees Australia-wide, because they're in for a shit year. Shit 2 years. The point you made, Kempy, and there'd be some data around this, I'm sure, but the nature of the concussions in the game, the way, when I think from the top of my head, I think of concussions and where they'll come from, it's blokes tackling low and getting the head in the wrong spot and getting hips or knees, whatever, to the head. And I feel like that accounts for so many of the concussions. So just force him to go lower, does it reduce the concussions? Maybe it does. I'm just speaking out loud, but thinking out loud, I'm not convinced. And like we know why they're doing it. We have this conversation time and time again. They're thinking about the future of the game. They're thinking about, the lawsuits that are going to come down the track for concussion and all the impact it's had in the game. And they're trying to secure it long term. But far out, I'm not convinced either.
Like, put it this way. You're a 15, 16-year-old Aussie boy, and I can only speak about, or girl, and I can only speak about Australia, as I said, because they have a unique situation where they're competing with League. And, like, you just want to go out there and hit blokes or chicks. You know what I mean? Like, you just want to go out there and fucking rip in. What game are you going to play? You're going to play... Like, I feel like sometimes we forget players play League because they love the contact. We pretend like it's just all about skill set and whatever, but a lot of young teenage boys and girls they just want to get in there and rip and tear. And I'm assuming Rugby Union would be the same. I just don't know how this is going to help them when they're competing against such an exciting prospective league.
I would imagine it's almost entirely a business decision and thinking about the game long term. And
But is even I know this sounds hyperbolic, but is it going to be around in 10, 20 years to get sued? Like, I'm not being a dick. I'm not being a dick.
I don't know.
You know, like, obviously the local games will probably be there, but will the Super Rugby be around in Australia in 10 to 20 years at the moment?
I couldn't tell you the last time I watched.
I don't
took interest in a. If
don't
you
know.
told me it wasn't around anymore, I'd. Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
And so, yeah.
I've got diehard Union mates who loved it growing up and for a long time and played it throughout all their childhood and even through teens and that. And they're the same. Like, you know, we're probably bad examples, but they don't watch it or know there's games on. So that's the marker.
And, like, for example, it says South Africa has shown a 30% reduction in concussions. Yep, sweet. France as a 14% increase in participation. I would love to see where was the participation increase. Was it in the younger years where even league is not, you don't have to tackle when you're younger, or was it in the teenage years where these rules were implemented? You know, like, there's so many different ways that you could splice these numbers to make it sound positive.
Quick tinfoil hat here.
Kempy's excited.
Well, would the fact that France was hosting a Rugby World Cup have had anything to do with their participation increase anyway?
Exactly.
Has it got anything to do with the
Exactly.
banning under the sternum?
Exactly. It's just like
Illuminati confirmed.
But you're exactly right. Like, there are ways to make these certain things. Like, I remember a couple of years ago, remember when, like, they said, I don't know, it was like concussions or head highs were down X percent or something. But then when you looked into it, it was like, yeah, it's because people get sent in the friggin' bin every 2 seconds. Of course they're down. It was some kind of way that we as a game were, like, manipulating numbers to make, look how...
Well, wasn't there was a different example, but I remember them claiming that there was less penalties in rugby league. It's like, sure, half of them are 6 agains now.
Yeah, that's another one.
It's like saying, like, 75% of Guru's statements between the 17th and 21st minute of the podcast are credible. You can swing anything anyway.
You can swing anything anyway.
Overs.
So, again, look, that's not to say, look, I could be absolutely wrong, and the study is an independent study and it proves that. But I just don't see how, like, we don't have to worry about, I'm assuming anyway, like, because, like, even league at the moment, we're younger, they don't tackle. They do touch or something like that, and then they teach them to tackle, and then it's not till they, what is it, 10 or 11? Where they
Depends where you are, but yeah.
10 or 11?
Lines, yeah.
So, like, I don't think rule changes to Q Cup or New South Wales Cup would affect a mum or a dad going, oh, okay, so you guys tackle below the sternum, all right, I'm going to put my kids in. It's the rules that are when they're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old that affects whether they're allowed to play, I'd assume. Another one that I always look to, and I might be biased because I enjoy it, but, like, UFC has exploded. MMA has exploded as a sport, fastest growing sport in the world, and it's literally based on, I know there's technique and stuff, but like knocking people out. So there is still an appetite for people, even though they know they're going into something damaging their brain, they're still going to do it.
A lot of contact above the sternum in UFC.
Yeah, a lot.
Plenty.
I'd love to see the contract like boxers and UFC, MMA fighters sign before they go in about, like, yes, we know we're signing our life. Yes, we know we're getting CTs. Like, it's cool.
Mate, what they do is, I think they're private contractors, so they're not actually employed full time by the UFC. They're considered like contracting themselves out to the UFC. But yeah, look, interesting. Look, if it makes the game safer and that makes the game bigger and better, well done to rugby. Well done. But I think that we're really straddling this line between just not accepting that doesn't matter how many times you change the rules in union, there will be concussions. We've spoken about it in the World Cup. What about scrums? Do you reckon you're not getting concussed every time you've got thousands of pounds or kilos behind you going head to head against each other? And I know they obviously go to each other's shoulder. It's still massive contact around the head. Whiplash as well.
Cauliflower ear. List goes on.
Mate, we need to introduce some rules to get rid of cauliflower ear.
Correct.
Because that is a plight on humanity.
It is.
So it'd be interesting to see what happens there, but geez, that's going to be hard to police. And people go, oh, maybe you'll come into league. It just couldn't, because if you were tackling below the sternum, it'd just be offloads every friggin' second.
If that came into league, the rules of the game are changing dramatically to account for it.
It would be almost touch footy. But yeah, I wonder how. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they go. Interesting to see how they go.
It's like, even if this is wildly successful, which I don't know if it will be, but let's say it is. Tell me in 15 years they're not going to want the game to be safer.
Yeah.
Again,
it's just
like, at what
where
point
does
do you
it end?
stop? Yeah,
it's
because
true.
then you'll get used to the amount of concussions you have now, which is better than what it was 5 years ago. But in 10 years' time, when you've got that amount of concussions, that's going to become the normal, and we're not going to want less.
Yeah, it's a great point, because we're viewing the game from safety, and it's like, this isn't a safe game.
Yeah,
like let's try to make it safe, but at what point? Like, okay, so the argument here is let's make it safer so more people play it. You know what else makes people play the game? Hectic game watching every single weekend. Like right now, think about how many young kids watch the NRL and go, this is the best. Like, I want to be Nathan Cleary. I want to be Reece Wild. Like, the product is so good. It's so exciting. That's the biggest seller of the game. It really is. Not mum and dad going, ooh, and I'm not saying that's not a real thing we have to worry about. Like, even me as a parent, if my kid was going to play league, I would want to make sure that everything is in place so that they're taken care of. But at the end of the day, he's going to get to an age where he makes his own decision. Like, I'm not going to stop him forever. I remember even when I was coming to league, my mum was like, oh, I don't want him to get... She even said to the Broncos scout, she's like, he'll come only if you promise him one thing. He doesn't get tackled. And I was like, sick joke, Mum. Sick joke. So, yeah.
you didn't get tackled much, to be fair.
Didn't do much tackling, that's for sure. Didn't do much tackling.
Trust me, Mum, it'll be okay.
You know what, Hammy? It hurts. I actually did play NRL. I'm getting shit put on me.
I was trying to give you a compliment.
Jeez,
I couldn't catch you.
Timmy coming down on me saying I
You're
can't.
so good you even had your own column on NRL Grid the other day. So don't you listen to him, mate.
All right, that's us done and dusted. Don't forget, 6 p.m. tonight, Guru hats, 6 p.m. tonight. Also, Summer Bloke shirts and singlets are dropping. Anything going on, boys?
7 p.m. Thursday, Big Bash.
7 p.m. Thursday, Big Bash.
SC Playbook Cricket, mate.
SC Playbook Cricket.
Big Bash starts Thursday, as I said. Big week, so get on and follow the channels or you're missing out.
At SC Playbook Cricket on Instagram, Facebook.
Everywhere, mate.
Everywhere.
Every social media channel out there, SC Playbook
Rumble,
Cricket is on.
Kick, Snapchat,
Grind.
Grinder, Grind.
All of the above.
Grind's a cafe.
Bumble, Tinder. Could you start a page on Tinder, you reckon, boys?
Interesting. Reinvent
For
the
your
wheel.
podcast. Interesting.
Like, could you? I'm trying to think. Like, maybe you have NRL players and see which ones get swiped on the most, and that's how you could give them rugby league content. And then you produce the
Could be the start of something beautiful.
Tinder bloke in a bar profile, and it's just different poses of me in different kit.
Super like.
Alrighty, we are done and dusted. It's a depths off season, guys. As usual, we'll all go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.